Dragon Ball. I become a god with a supernatural comprehension at the beginning. Chapter 1. Dragon Ball World. In the year 737 of the Age of Ages, Planet Vegeta. A child wearing a Saiyan combat uniform, who looked no more than 3 or 4 years old, was sitting on a large rock with a sad face. His name was Roger, and he was the son of a lower-level Saiyan warrior. However, he was not an ordinary Saiyan, but a time traveler. Not long ago, Roger was playing king at home, and somehow he traveled to the body of a Saiyan with the same name as him. After traveling here, Roger quickly gained the original owner's memory and knew that this was the Dragon Ball world. Vegeta is now 5 years old, and Planet Vegeta will probably be destroyed by Frieza soon. Shit, this is hell from the beginning. Is God playing tricks on me and letting me come here to die? Roger cursed at the sky. As soon as he finished speaking, an old voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Welcome to the world of Dragon Ball. In order to welcome you, you will gain extraordinary enlightenment. A supernatural enlightenment. So what is this specifically used for? Roger asked. You figure it out yourself. How do you understand it? The old voice did not answer. Hey, Roger shouted again. After making sure that the voice would not answer him again, Roger thought quietly. Incredible understanding. Could it be that you can master it as soon as you learn it? As Roger said this, he couldn't help but think of Li Xiaoyao in the first version of The Legend of Sword and Fairy. He could learn the opponent's swordsmanship immediately after just one glance, which was considered a martial arts genius. Incredible understanding should be better than a martial arts genius, right? Thinking of this, Roger immediately looked up at the sky. He looked up and found that his eyes could see the wind, the white wind, and the trajectory of the wind in the sky. This is. Roger looked at the howling wind in the sky and immediately watched it intently. After a long time, Roger waved his right hand upwards, and a small whirlwind immediately appeared in his hand. This was the wind control technique that Roger had just learned through observing the wind. Roger looked at the whirlwind in his hand, raised his right hand upwards, and the whirlwind in his hand immediately disappeared. Is this the enlightenment that defies heaven? Roger muttered to himself. Then, Roger observed the sun and condensed a fiery red fireball in his right hand. The fireball in Roger's hand was different from ordinary energy. The fireball in his hand was formed by absorbing the surrounding heat and sunlight. Therefore, the temperature of the fireball in his hand was very high. It's so hot. Roger threw the fireball in his hand onto the ground. If I really have a supernatural comprehension, then I should be able to create teleportation, right? Roger's current combat power is only over 300. If he wants to leave Planet Vegeta without being noticed, he has to find a way to control teleportation. Thinking of this, Roger immediately tried to see if he could create teleportation. After a long time, Roger learned to control the energy, but he did not create teleportation. Although Roger has watched the Dragon Ball anime, teleportation is not as easy to control as he imagined. Sun Wukong spent nearly a year to learn how to teleport. It seems that I have oversimplified things, Roger said, and immediately used the air dance technique to fly towards the Saiyan main city. 10 minutes later, Roger arrived at the Saiyan main city. The Saiyan main city is the most prosperous city on Planet Vegeta, and King Vegeta's palace is in this main city. Because most Saiyans are sent to other planets to perform missions, there are not many Saiyans living here. After arriving at the main city, Roger bought some food with the currency of Planet Vegeta and came to the Saiyan spaceship launch room. Who are you? A thin man asked Roger. His name was Base, and he was a staff member here. Hello, my name is Roger. Roger nodded. I want to carry out a mission. I wonder if there are any planets that need to be conquered recently. Bass looked at Roger and said, Roger, how strong are you? 305. 305 is a bit low. It doesn't matter even if it's a more remote planet. I'm afraid this won't work. King Frieza recently asked all Saiyans fighting outside to return to Planet Vegeta. Roger, return to Planet Vegeta. Yes, maybe there are some instructions. So you can only team up with others and see what missions are available recently. It's a pity that your combat power is a bit low, otherwise you can join Prince Vegeta's team. Prince Vegeta. Yes, Prince Vegeta is a genius of the Saiyan race. Although he is only 5 years old now, his combat power is already 8,000. In that case, I'll continue to stay on Planet Vegeta. Roger said, and turned to leave the Saiyan spaceship launch room. Bass was not surprised by this. Roger is now 4 years old and his combat power is only 305. There is limited room for improvement. In the future, he will definitely be sent by King Vegeta to some planets that are more difficult to conquer. But if he takes the initiative to send him, he can choose some planets that are less difficult to conquer. Back in the main city, Roger asked some Saiyans he knew about Frieza's call for the Saiyans to come back. After asking, Frieza wanted all the Saiyans who were fighting outside to return to Planet Vegeta within 2 months. There are still 2 months left, Roger muttered to himself, looking up at the sky. Originally, Roger wanted to leave Planet Vegeta and go to Planet Yardrat in the name of a mission. Now it seems that his plan is not feasible. He now has 2 choices. One is to follow Vegeta. Vegeta can escape the destruction of Planet Vegeta this time. The second choice is to steal the Saiyan spaceship and leave Planet Vegeta. Neither of these 2 choices is so easy. The first one, if you want to follow Vegeta, you must first join his team. As the Prince of the Saiyans, how can Vegeta join his team? For example, Raditz, the brother of Sun Wukong, although Raditz only has a combat power of 1500 when he appears, he is a Saiyan, he is a senior warrior in the Dragon Ball. Even the current Raditz has a combat power of 800. The reason why he seems weak in Dragon Ball is that his teammates are too strong. After careful consideration, Roger finally decided to steal the universe to leave Planet Vegeta. Although the second one is a bit risky, the future prospects are greater. However, Roger's combat power is too weak now, and he has to improve his strength before stealing the spaceship. After thinking about it, Roger immediately went to the commander to buy some iron tools for training. The gravity of Planet Vegeta is 10 times that of the Earth, so even if there is no gravity room, with the gravity of Planet Vegeta, it should be faster than ordinary training. In addition, every time a Saiyan survives the brink of death, his combat power will double. So he can make good use of this to further improve his strength. 2 days later, on a mountain outside the Saiyan main city, Roger was sweating profusely as he did 1-finger push-ups. Although his comprehension was incredibly strong, his strength still needed to be cultivated through sweat. During these 2 days, Roger created the Super Saiyan training method through his insights into the Saiyans surviving the brink of death. The Super Saiyan training method is for Saiyans to burst out their potential under certain circumstances. Just like Son Gohan, after being washed to the cliff waterfall, his instinct for survival unleashed the power hidden in his body. The Super Saiyan training method created by Roger allows Roger to draw out the power in his body when he has a huge instinct for survival. In addition to the instinct for survival, Saiyans can also burst out with super strength when they are angry. So based on this, Roger created the emotional training method. 9,909, 10,000. After Roger finished speaking, he immediately lay on the ground. When he watched Dragon Ball anime before, he always thought that Sun Wukong was very powerful because he could easily explode stars. But now that he is practicing, he has experienced their lives and feels that their practice is not easy either. Gurgle. After a brief sigh in his heart, Roger's hungry stomach sounded immediately. Forget it, I'll go eat first and come back to practice after dinner. Time flies, and a month has passed in a blink of an eye. After a month of training, Roger's combat power has reached 2000, and his strength can be said to have improved by leaps and bounds. If it weren't for the limited training conditions, his combat power could be improved even more. It's time to leave. Roger glanced at the red sky. Although he was a time traveler, he had already accepted his identity as a Saiyan in this month. Planet Vegeta was his home planet. Unfortunately, in more than a month, Planet Vegeta would be destroyed by Frieza. At night, the sky above Planet Vegeta was very dark, with no stars. Roger, wearing a Saiyan combat suit and covering his face with a red scarf, secretly came to the Saiyan spaceship launch site. The Saiyan spaceship launch site is where spaceships are launched, and there are a large number of Saiyan spaceships here. Roger was in this in the past month. He has come here to scout several times and has already selected the Saiyan spaceship to steal. Although the Saiyan spaceship launch site is full of spaceships, there are also some spaceships that need to be repaired and have not been repaired in time. After finding the spaceship to be stolen, Roger immediately lifted it up and quickly left the Saiyan spaceship launch site. More than 10 minutes later, Roger came to a mountain outside the main city and put down the spaceship in his hands. Roger took a deep breath, opened the spaceship, and sat in. Then, the spaceship slowly rose, and with a whoosh, it left Planet Vegeta at a speed faster than the speed of light. Spaceship. Although Roger left Planet Vegeta very carefully, he was still discovered by the staff of the Saiyan spaceship launch room. They immediately passed the news to Frieza. Frieza's spaceship. Frieza was holding a glass of red wine that was 1/3 full, sitting on a flying chair, looking at the beauty of the universe. Next to him stood Dodoria and Sabo. A soldier hurriedly ran in from outside. Meet King Frieza. What's up? Back to King Frieza. A message just came from Planet Vegeta, saying that a Saiyan stole the spaceship and left Planet Vegeta. Saiyan. Yes, and that spaceship has just broken through our defense line and is flying towards the North Milky Way. What did you say? After hearing this, Dodoria immediately became furious. Mr. Dodoria, don't get angry so easily. Frieza said gently. It's King Frieza, Dodoria said with a trace of cold sweat on his forehead. If he hadn't been following Frieza all the time, he would have thought that Frieza was a gentle person. But in fact, Frieza was a moody person, and many soldiers were often killed by Frieza because of saying the wrong thing. The reason why Dodoria had been following Frieza for so many years without any problems was because of Dodoria's high combat power. You know, the combat power of the Saiyan King Vegeta is only more than 10,000 points now, but Dodoria's combat power is twice his. This is why Dodoria can follow Frieza. Then how could he break through our defenses? Frieza asked the soldier. This is because his combat power is too low, and our combat power detectors did not detect his combat power. Sabo did not detect it. Yes, the soldier nodded. Dodoria and Sabo looked at Frieza at the same time. Since he is just a Saiyan with little fighting power, let it go this time, but there must not be a next time. It's King Frieza. So, King Frieza, should we send someone to chase after this Saiyan? Sabo asked Frieza. No need, he's just a Saiyan with no fighting power anyway. Roger was relieved when he saw his spaceship break through Frieza's defenses and no one was chasing him. It seems that their combat power detector should not have detected me, but I can't relax now, in case Frieza sends people to chase me. However, I don't know if my escape this time will affect Son Goku's trip to Earth. Never mind, as long as I can stay alive, even if Son Goku dies, I can help him resurrect. A friend dies, but I'm not dead. The next morning. The news that Roger stole the spaceship and left Planet Vegeta quickly spread throughout Planet Vegeta. Everyone talked about it, and most people thought that Roger was a traitor and betrayed the Saiyans. Of course, there were also a few people who sensed the crisis. For example, Son Goku's father, Bardock, felt that Frieza had no good intentions in summoning all the Saiyans back to Planet Vegeta this time. Time flies, and a month has passed in a blink of an eye. Bardock was worried that Frieza would attack all Saiyans, so he stole a spaceship from the Saiyan spaceship launch site at night and sent Son Goku to Earth. Originally, Frieza's army strengthened their vigilance that night, and it would be difficult for Son Goku's spaceship to break through Frieza's army's defense line. But that night, King Vegeta suddenly led many Saiyans to rebel against Frieza. Frieza's army was busy dealing with King Vegeta and his men, and once again did not notice the spaceship, allowing Son Goku's spaceship to break through the defense line. King Vegeta's rebellion failed and he was executed by Frieza because he allowed a Saiyan spaceship to escape from Planet Vegeta again and a soldier in charge of the defense line was eliminated. So, King Frieza, do you want to send someone to chase that spaceship? Dodoria asked Frieza. No need, it's just a baby with combat power too anyway. It's King Frieza. Frieza nodded. The Saiyans should all be back in 5 days, right? Yes, King Frieza. After hearing this, Frieza chuckled. Those Saiyans would never have imagined that they would die in 5 days. Yes, King Frieza. Above the planet Yardrat, a white, ball-shaped spaceship was descending towards the planet Yardrat at a high speed. This spaceship was the Saiyan spaceship that Roger was on board. With a loud bang, Roger's spaceship fell heavily to the ground, forming a large pit. Due to the intense friction between the spaceship and the atmosphere, a wisp of black smoke was emitted from the spaceship. Start. With a slight sound, Roger opened the spaceship and walked out. Roger looked around the deep pit and quickly flew out of the deep pit to the ground. When he got to the ground, he immediately saw many Yardrats with red skin, spots on their skin, and wearing strange clothes looking at him. "Hello, guys," Roger said to the Yardrat people with an awkward look on his face. This was his first time seeing aliens, and he saw so many aliens at once. "Jiliji," a Yardrat replied in a language he couldn't understand. Quote. Roger was speechless. They couldn't speak the same language. Didn't they say that the whole universe speaks Earth language? It turned out that it was all fake. In desperation, Roger could only communicate with them using sign language. Although Earth language is not common to the entire universe, sign language is. Because Roger had hidden his chi and posed no threat to the Yardrat people did not regard Roger as an enemy. Through communication, Roger said that he only came here to seek refuge and had no ill intentions. When the Yardrat people learned that Roger had no ill intentions, they let him stay on this planet. Gurgle. Roger suddenly felt hungry. "Do you have anything to eat?" Roger said, while gesturing to the Yardrat people. When the Yardrat people saw Roger's gesture, they immediately understood what Roger meant and took out a lot of food for Roger. In this way, Roger settled down on the planet Yardrat. 5 days later, above Planet Vegeta, Frieza's spaceship and his army appeared above Planet Vegeta, surrounding Planet Vegeta. Frieza was sitting on a flying chair, shaking a 3/4 full red wine glass with his right hand, looking at Planet Vegeta below. "What a beautiful planet. It's a pity that in a few hours, this planet will disappear in the universe." "Yes," Sabo said. 3 hours later, Dodoria returned from the mission. "King Frieza." Dodoria saluted Frieza. Frieza nodded. "How's the matter going? I have already dealt with that team according to your instructions." As soon as the voice fell, a soldier ran in from outside and said, "Meet King Frieza." "What's up?" A Saiyan spaceship just left Miru and is now flying towards Planet Vegeta. This is impossible," Dodoria said with a lot of cold sweat on his forehead. Although Frieza didn't say anything, his expression suddenly became extremely serious. Dodoria immediately knelt down on the ground after seeing this. "King Frieza, please give me another chance. I will never fail again." "No need, the Saiyan is going back to Planet Vegeta anyway, right?" Frieza said with a slight smile on his face. "Planet Vegeta." "Dodoria, Sabo, how about I treat you two to a fireworks display?" "Fireworks?" "Yes, a very bright firework display." After hearing this, Dodoria and the others seemed to have thought of something, but did not say much. Then, Frieza brought Dodoria and Sabo to the roof of the spaceship and saw Bardock, who wanted to resist Frieza. Frieza laughed loudly, and a huge fiery red energy ball condensed from his right index finger and was thrown towards Planet Vegeta. Bardock and the soldiers around him were the first to die under the energy ball. "Why?" The Saiyans on Planet Vegeta looked at the energy ball that was like the sun and roared in anger. They worked hard for Frieza, but in the end, they ended up like this. 2 days later, many planets in the universe learned about the destruction of Planet Vegeta. However, the news they received was that Planet Vegeta was destroyed by a huge meteorite. And it was Frieza who spread this false news. On a planet in the universe, Vegeta and his team escaped the disaster because they did not obey Frieza's order and returned to Planet Vegeta. After hearing that Planet Vegeta was destroyed by a huge meteorite, Raditz, Sun Wukong's brother, said to Vegeta and Nappa with some disbelief in his heart. "Prince Vegeta, Planet Vegeta, was destroyed by a huge meteorite." "What?" After hearing this, the other Saiyans in the team looked incredulous. They were all Saiyans, and Planet Vegeta was their home planet, so of course it was hard for them to accept it. Moreover, the destruction of Planet Vegeta meant that only a few of them were left in the Saiyan race. Only Vegeta was eating the fruit in his hand very calmly. He didn't believe that Planet Vegeta was destroyed by a meteorite. Not to mention the technology of Planet Vegeta, even with the strength of the Saiyans, it was not something that could be destroyed by a meteorite. Really, how could they not even notice the meteorite? A Saiyan who was about the same age as Raditz complained. "Yes, but fortunately, we did not obey King Frieza's order to go back, otherwise we would have died under the meteorite." Raditz looked at Vegeta and said. This time, they were originally going to go back to Planet Vegeta. But Vegeta said that he would go back after completing the mission, so he did not obey the order given by Frieza. So, we are the only Saiyans left. Raditz, I remember you seem to have a younger brother, right? Nappa said. Yeah, I remember my mom saying, they sent him to Earth a few days ago. Earth, isn't that an extremely remote planet? That guy was born with only 2 points of combat power, and he can only survive by going to that remote planet. That's true. By the way, didn't a Saiyan steal a spaceship and leave Planet Vegeta a month ago? He should still be alive, said a Saiyan in the team. That guy is called Roger, right? Another Saiyan said. When Roger first stole the spaceship, no one knew his true identity, but later on, after investigation, his true identity was known. Yes, he seems to be the son of a low-level Saiyan warrior, and his fighting ability is not very high. After hearing this, Vegeta ate the fruit in his hand without much concern. Whether it was Sun Wukong or Roger, he was just the son of a low-level Saiyan warrior, and there was nothing to pay attention to. What he was thinking about now was how to become stronger, take revenge on Frieza, and take his place. Yardrat. After Roger spent 5 days on Yardrat, he created a god-level teleportation by observing the Yardrat people's teleportation. The god-level teleportation Roger created is one that teleports through the perception of chi, and the second is to move through the perception of the planet. Although it is very close to the teleportation of King Kai, the teleportation he created now cannot move in the universe. When he meets King Kai in the future, he will further improve the god-level teleportation he created. In addition, Roger also comprehended the forced separation technique, the clone technique, and the transformation technique by observing the Yardrat people's use of chi. The forced separation technique can forcibly separate the energy that does not belong to the opponent from his body. In the Dragon Ball Super Moro chapter, Vegeta relied on this trick to separate the energy absorbed by Moro. At this time, Roger was sitting on a large rock with full concentration, meditating and practicing. A short Yardrat person came over. His name is Husu, a wise man of the Yardrat family, and he also knows the Saiyan language. Husu, Roger said to Husu. Husu nodded. Husu, why are you here? Roger, I'm here to tell you something. One thing. Your planet Vegeta is destroyed. Destroyed. After hearing this, Roger felt a little sad, but he didn't say much. Yeah, Husu nodded. It's okay, Roger, you can continue to stay here and practice. Roger nodded. He really didn't have anywhere to go now. As for the Earth, although he now controls instant movement, there are too many planets in the universe, and he can't know the exact location of the Earth at once. He can only move slowly to the Earth. His combat power is too low now. If he accidentally moves to a planet occupied by Frieza's army, it will be a disaster. So he should improve his strength first, and then go to the Earth. Time flies, and a year has passed in a blink of an eye. After a year of training, Roger has increased his combat power to 3 million. Of course, he does not have a combat power detector, so he does not know his current specific combat power. At this moment, Roger is saying goodbye to Husu and preparing to go to Earth. Husu, thank you so much for your care this year. It's nothing. If you want to come back in the future, you can come back anytime. Okay, Roger nodded. Then everyone, I will go to Earth. Roger said goodbye to all the Yardrat people who came to see him off. Husu translated Roger's meaning, and all the Yardrat people nodded together. Seeing this, Roger immediately walked into the Saiyan spaceship. The Saiyan spaceship started and left Yardrat. 10 days later, the spaceship Roger was on landed in a forest on Earth. Roger walked out of the Saiyan spaceship and looked at the blue sky. I finally arrived on Earth. As soon as he finished speaking, Roger felt hungry. Let's go find something to eat first. After a while, Roger knocked down a big dinosaur, and then used a sharpened tree to pierce its body up and down, and used some wood to build a rack to hold the dinosaur's body up. Finally, he put some firewood under the dinosaur for barbecue. Roger looked at the dinosaur in front of him and was very excited. I should be the first person on Blue Star to taste the taste of dinosaurs, right? The Blue Star that Roger mentioned is the name of the planet where he lived in his previous life. Because the barbecue takes a long time, Roger picked some wild fruits in the forest to fill his stomach. After a long time, the dinosaur meat was roasted. Roger immediately put out the fire, used the wind control technique to cool the dinosaur meat, and started to eat. Although Roger is small, his appetite is extremely amazing. In less than a few minutes, Roger finished a dinosaur leg. The size of this dinosaur leg is almost the same as Roger's body. It is unknown how long it took for the whole dinosaur to be finished. Roger's stomach was bulging with food, and he burped. Although the dinosaur meat tasted good, it was not as good as it had not been cooked or seasoned. After resting for a while, Roger stood up and flew towards the nearby city. Now that he had come to Earth, he naturally had to visit Bulma's house. Although Bulma is still young, her father, Dr. Brief, is a famous scientist in the Dragon Ball world. Son Goku's gravity chamber was created by Dr. Brief. After arriving at the nearby city, Roger first inquired about the location of West City and came to West City. Afterwards, he found a policeman on the side of the road and asked him about the location of Bulma's house. "You want to see Dr. Brief?" "Yes, my friend is at his house and asked me to go find him." "Friend?" The policeman was skeptical after hearing this. However, he saw that Roger was 5 years old and didn't seem to be lying, so he let Roger sit on his motorcycle and took him to Dr. Brief's house. Roger saw that the policeman believed him easily, and he sighed in his heart that the identity of a child was good. This also reminded him of an anime he watched in his previous life, Detective Conan. After a long time, the policeman took Roger to the front yard of Bulma's house. "Kids, this is Dr. Brief's house," the policeman said, and suddenly found that Roger, who was sitting on the back of his motorcycle, was gone. "No, it's gone." The police were shocked and started looking around. Could he have fallen on the way here? The policeman thought of this and immediately drove back on his motorcycle. The police drove back a distance and saw Roger, so they immediately stopped the motorcycle and said, "Little boy, when did you get off my motorcycle just now?" The policeman asked, while checking Roger to see if he had any injuries. "Just now, Uncle Police, I suddenly don't want to go anymore, I want to go home." "Go home?" "Yes, my home is nearby." "Really? Do you need me to take you back?" Although the police knew he might be fooled, he still said kindly. After all, in his eyes, Roger was just a 4 or 5-year-old child. "It's okay, I know my home." After hearing this, the police wanted to insist on sending Roger back, but the mobile phone on his waist suddenly rang. The police picked up the phone, and after hanging up the call, he looked at Roger and thought he was quite smart, so he said to Roger. "Then Roger, I won't send you back. If you have any problems, just find our police officers." "Yes," Roger nodded. After the police saw it, he immediately got on his motorcycle and drove forward. Seeing the police leave, Roger immediately returned to the door of Bulma's house. Originally, he could have ignored the police just now, but in order not to worry the police, he appeared in front of the police again and made up another lie. However, Exodus is really big. If he hadn't found the police, he really didn't know how long it would take to find Bulma's house. Ding dong. Roger pressed the doorbell. A robot voice came out from the speaker on the electronic doorbell. "This is Dr. Brief's home. Who are you? Who are you looking for?" "My name is Roger, and I want to find Boomer." Roger wanted to say Dr. Brief, but now he is just a child, and he doesn't know himself, so he can only try his luck and see if Boomer will let him in. "Okay, I'll go tell the second young lady now, please wait." "Yeah," Roger nodded. After a while, the robot's voice came from the speaker on the electronic doorbell again. "Roger, the second lady is busy now and said she doesn't know you, so I'm sorry, we can't open the door for you." "Okay." Just then, a girl with long blonde hair, a little red hat on her head, black eyes, and a red dress came over from a distance. This person was Bulma's sister Tais. Tais walked up to Roger with a smile on her face and said, "Who are you, kid? Why are you here?" "My name is Roger. Who are you, sister?" "My name is Tazy. How come you are at my door?" Tazy squatted down and asked Roger with a smile. "I'm here to see Dr. Brief." "Looking for Dad?" "Yeah." Roger nodded. "What do you want to do with your dad?" "I heard that he is a famous scientist in Exodus, so I came to visit him." "Scientist? Visit? Roger, are you interested in inventions?" "Yes." At this time, Tazy suddenly found that Roger had a tail behind him. Tail. Roger, why is there a tail behind you? Because I'm a Saiyan. Roger laughed. Saiyan. Yes, I come from a planet in the southern Milky Way, but it is destroyed now. Roger, don't lie to me, you don't look like an alien at all. Tazy said with a smile. Saiyans and Earthlings look exactly the same except for their tails. This is completely different from the aliens Tazy imagined. Just when Tazy was halfway through laughing, the smile on her face suddenly froze. Because Roger's body suddenly flew from the ground to the air. Fly. Roger nodded, and his body fell from midair to the ground. After seeing this, Tazy immediately checked Roger's body to see if he had any flying devices. No, really nothing. Sister, do you believe now that I am an alien? I believe it for now. Then why are you looking for my father? Actually, I wanted to sell him something. Thing. Yes, what is it? Spacecraft. Spaceship. Tazy was shocked. Roger, you have a spaceship. Of course, otherwise how would I come to Earth? But, if you sell the spaceship, how will you leave the Earth in the future? My planet has been destroyed, so I plan to stay on Earth for a long time from now on. Where is your spaceship? Can you let me see it first? Taez said with a smile. Tazy is a science fiction novelist, so she is very interested in the vast universe. But she doesn't have a spaceship, so she can't leave the Earth. Now Roger said he has a spaceship, so she is naturally very interested. Of course you can, but it's not easy to park the spaceship here. Why don't we go to your house first? Okay, Tazy thought for a moment and nodded. Then, Tazy took Roger into the house. As soon as he entered the house, Roger saw 2 or 3 robots dressed as nannies cleaning the house. Miss, you're back, a robot that looked like a butler here said to Tazy respectfully. Tazy nodded lightly and responded. Miss, is this person next to you your friend? Yes, his name is Roger. Roger. Without waiting for the housekeeper robot to ask, Tazy pressed the password of the backyard gate and opened it. A huge yard like a zoo appeared, and Tazy led Roger in. Roger walked into the backyard of Bulma's house and saw many stray cats, dogs, lizards, and other animals. Sister, you have so many animals at home. Yes, these are the animals my dad adopted from outside. Really, your father is really kind-hearted. Just as the two were chatting, a blonde, blue-eyed, and graceful woman walked in. This person was Taiz's mother, Mrs. Brief. Tazy, you are back. Is this your friend? He looks so small, but so cute. No, he came to find his father. Looking for your dad. Yes, Tazy nodded. Your father, he is repairing a machine in the front now, and Boomer is there too. Mrs. Brief said, smiling at Roger. What's your name, kid? Would you like a drink? My name is Roger, no thanks. Roger, you are really polite, unlike my Bulma. After hearing this, Tazy ignored Mrs. Brief and continued to walk forward with Roger. After walking for a while, Roger saw from a distance a middle-aged man in a white coat and a pair of black glasses repairing some machine. Next to the middle-aged man stood a little girl with blue-green twin ponytails and a chubby face. They were Dr. Brief and Bulma. Dad, Bulma, Tazy called out to the two of them. They looked up and saw Tazy and Roger beside her. Elder sister, Taiz. After a while, Taiz brought Roger to the two of them. Tazy, who is he? Dr. Brief asked Tazy. His name is Roger, and he is a Saiyan. Saiyan, Roger. When Bulma heard Roger's name, she immediately remembered that the butler robot had just told her that someone named Roger was looking for her. Were you looking for me just now? Bulma asked Roger. Yes, actually I want to meet your father, so I wanted to borrow your name to come in. Meet my dad. Yeah, I want to sell a spaceship to Dr. Brief. Spaceship. Dr. Brief was very interested and said. Dad, don't be fooled by him. How could he have a spaceship? Bulma said in disbelief. After Bulma finished speaking, Dr. Brief and Taiz looked at Roger at the same time. In fact, they didn't really believe that Roger would have a spaceship. Roger saw the two of them looking at him, and of course he knew what they were thinking. So he took out the spaceship remote control from his clothes and pressed it lightly. More than 10 seconds later, a white spaceship appeared over Bulma's house. What was that just now? Was it a meteor? Because Roger's spaceship was moving too fast, many humans in Exedu didn't see Roger's spaceship clearly. It was not until Roger's spaceship stopped over Bulma's house that some humans living nearby saw Roger's spaceship. What is this? Is it an alien spaceship? I don't think so. That's Dr. Brief's house. Maybe Dr. Brief is making a spaceship. Bulma saw the spaceship appearing at the speed of light and said in disbelief. Am I dreaming? Bulma said, pinching her face with her hands. It hurts so much, this is not a dream. After seeing this scene, Roger couldn't help laughing immediately. You are so cute. Bulma blushed after hearing this. She felt that she was really embarrassed just now. Seeing this, Roger pressed the spaceship remote control in his hand, and the spaceship landed smoothly on the grass. It's really a spaceship, Taze said excitedly. If she had this spaceship, she could leave the Earth and go to other planets. Dr. Brief walked to Roger's spaceship, looked at the outer shell of the spaceship with his hand and said, Roger, how much do you plan to sell this spaceship for? Several hundred million. A few hundred million. I thought it would be hundreds of billions. Roger said with a smile. If I sell it to you for hundreds of billions, will you buy it? No. Dr. Brief shook his head. Although he was rich, he would not spend a lot of money to study something like a spaceship, which was expensive and could not be mass-produced. What about the hundreds of millions? Roger continued to ask. Worth considering. So, Dad, are you going to buy this spaceship? Taze asked Dr. Brief. Think about it. Dad, what are you still thinking about? This is a spaceship. If you can also build such a spaceship, our company will definitely become the world's #1 company. After hearing this, Dr. Brief glanced at Taze and said, Then Taze, if I buy this spaceship, would you be willing to work in your family's company? I'll think about it. After hearing this, Dr. Brief turned and looked at Roger. Roger, open this spaceship and let me see it. Okay. Roger said, and immediately pressed the remote control in his hand to open the door of the spacecraft. Roger, can this spaceship only seat one person? Yes, but this spaceship is very fast and can go to any place in the universe without any problem. Does this spacecraft have an instruction manual? Manual, yes, and maintenance and stuff. Well, if you need it, I can write you an instruction manual, and I can also solve it after sales. Can you repair this spaceship? Of course, Roger said with a smile. When he was on Yardrat, Roger not only practiced, but also learned about the technology of Yardrat and other planets. Roger's comprehension was extraordinary, and he easily mastered the technology of Yardrat and other planets. Although the technology of Yardrat was not very advanced, the Yardrat people could teleport. They would use teleportation to go to some highly civilized planets and trade with them. So Roger was far superior to Dr. Brief in terms of spacecraft. But in terms of universal capsules, Dr. Brief was unmatched. Really, where do you live now? I have no place to live right now, otherwise I wouldn't sell the spaceship to you. I see. Why don't you stay at my house? That way, if I have any questions about the spacecraft, I can come to you. Well, then the money. I spent 10 billion to buy this spaceship, and I will ask your wife to give it to you tomorrow. 1 billion. Yeah, isn't it too little? No, that's enough. By the way, Taze just said you were a Saiyan. Are you an alien? Yes. If you sell the spaceship to me, how are you going to get back? My original planet has been destroyed, so there is no way to go back. So that's it. From now on, this will be your home. Quote ? Does he think of himself as a stray cat? Then Roger, can you tell me about the structure of this spaceship? Okay. Roger nodded and told Dr. Brief. After a long time, Dr. Brief said as if he had suddenly realized something. So that's how it is, alien technological civilization is indeed far ahead of us. Actually, not really, we are just a little ahead in spacecraft. Said Roger. Roger, how old are you? 5 years old. That's the same age as our Bulma. How about you arrange a baby marriage for her? Dad, Bulma said angrily. Although Dr. Brief is a famous scientist on Earth, he always has some unruly moments. Bulma, I think this is a good idea. Taze, who was standing nearby, immediately teased Bulma. Bulma immediately looked at Roger. Seeing Bulma's angry eyes, Roger immediately coughed and said, Dr. Brief, I think, forget it. Why? Because I feel like she's hostile toward me. So that's it, it's okay, feelings can be cultivated slowly. Dad, Bulma shouted to Dr. Brief immediately after hearing this. She had seen people selling their daughters, but she had never seen anyone selling their daughters like this. Well, if you really don't want to, forget it. Tazy immediately asked Roger after seeing this. Roger, how long did it take you to come here from the southern Milky Way? More than a year. More than a year, that's not long. No, I stayed on Yardrat for a year, otherwise it would only take me more than a month to reach Earth. You mean, this spacecraft can cross a galaxy in a month? Yeah, Roger nodded. So Roger, what are you going to do on Yardrat? Taze is a science fiction novelist, so she is very interested in the universe. Tazy, I have to work. If you want to chat, you can go to the front. Okay, Dad. Then Roger, come with me to the front and talk. Yes, Roger nodded. After that, the two of them immediately walked forward. Seeing this, Dr. Brief glanced at Bulma beside him. Bulma, aren't you going with them? Humph, I won't go. At this time, Tazy and Roger had already walked away. However, Roger had a keen hearing and still heard what Bulma said. He turned around and looked back. Did he just hear what I said? Bulma was startled when she saw Roger suddenly turn around. At this time, Roger turned his head and continued to walk forward with Tazy. Bulma was relieved after seeing this. It seems that he didn't hear me, but why should I be afraid of that guy? This is obviously my home. So Roger, what do the Yardrat people you mentioned look like? Taze asked Roger. His skin is red with red spots on it. He is not tall, has pointed ears, no hair on his head, and wears strange clothes. Weird clothes, just like the clothes I'm wearing. Tazy immediately looked at the clothes on Roger and said, is this dress you are wearing a gift from them? Yes, they are a very friendly people. Unconsciously, the two of them had walked to a white table and chairs. The door behind the table and chairs led to the hall of Taze's house. Roger, sit down. Good, Roger said, and he and Tazy found a chair and sat down. At this time, Mrs. Brief came out of the house and brought them a cup of freshly brewed coffee. Little Roger, have some coffee I just made, Mrs. Brief said to Roger with a smile. Mom, Roger is still so young, how can you let him drink coffee? Tazy said speechlessly. What does it matter? Maybe Roger likes coffee. Right, Roger. After hearing this, Roger laughed dryly. Auntie, actually I don't really like coffee. No, then what do you like to drink? Coke. Yeah. Roger nodded. Well, I'll get you a Coke now, Mrs. Brief said, and went back to the house to get Roger a Coke. Roger, you said you were a Saiyan. Apart from your tails, are you any different from us Earthlings? We Saiyans are a fighting nation, so our combat power is relatively strong. What is combat effectiveness? To put it simply, it is a person's strength. The stronger the strength, the stronger the combat effectiveness. So Roger, what is your fighting power? Have no idea. Have no idea, because my combat power is too high. The combat power detector can no longer detect my combat value. So, do I have the fighting power? Of course. So how much fighting power do I have? Probably 5. 5. Just then, Bulma appeared and walked over from not far away. Yes, how about you? Didn't I just say that? I don't know either. Perhaps, at least 20,000 combat power, Roger said, stroking his cheek with his right index finger. The minimum, the lowest is 20,000, so wouldn't you be very awesome? It's okay, Roger said with a smile. Sister, what do you think is so great about him? Bulma asked Tazy. Roger's fighting ability. Combat power. What is that? It's the strength of one person. Bulma. At this moment, Mrs. Brief, who went to the house to get a drink, put a can of Coke in front of Roger. Roger, your Coke. Thanks. Bulma, since you are here too, this cup of coffee is for you. No, that thing is so bitter, Bulma said. In that case, go to the house and get the drink you want. This cup of coffee is for your dad. Bulma nodded. So sister, how strong is this guy's fighting ability? The minimum is 20,000. 20,000, yes, he said my combat power is only 5. 5. Bulma laughed immediately after hearing this. Sister, don't be fooled by him. I don't think he can even beat you. After hearing this, Tazy immediately looked at Roger. In fact, She also had a little doubt about what Roger said. After hearing this, Roger smiled and said, Bulma, what did you just call me? This guy. Then if I prove to you that what I just said is true, how about you call me brother? Elder brother. Yeah, Roger nodded. Okay, as long as you can prove it, I will call you brother. Good. After hearing this, Roger immediately laughed. Then, he raised his right hand and fired a golden air wave from his hand towards the sky. Boom! With a huge explosion, the air wave exploded in the sky. A large amount of thick smoke from the explosion immediately appeared in the sky. Because the explosion was so loud, the residents living near Dr. Brief's house saw the huge explosion. Bulma was immediately frightened and trembled when she saw the huge explosion in the sky. Ties and Mrs. Brief, who were sitting next to them, were also frightened. How about it? Do you believe it now? Roger smiled and looked at Bulma. I believe it. So what should you call yourself now? Brother, Bulma said with some difficulty in her heart. Because of the huge explosion in the sky, Tazy suddenly felt a little afraid of Roger. Although Mrs. Brief was a little scared just now, she soon regained her composure when the explosion stopped. Roger, I'm going to the bathroom, Tazy said to Roger. Okay. After a while, Tazy came out of the toilet and slowly calmed down. She continued to ask Roger about some things in the universe. At noon, Mrs. Brief prepared a large table of dishes and asked Roger to eat with them. Roger, you are welcome, just eat. Tazy smiled and said to Roger. Good, Roger said, and then he started eating without hesitation. Collapse. Tazy and the others were surprised to see Roger eating his meal like a whirlwind. What's wrong? Roger looked at the four people and said. Nothing, I'll go cook a few more dishes. Mrs. Brief stood up from her chair and said. Roger, have you not eaten for several days? Tazy asked cautiously. No, we Saiyans have big appetites. So that's it. Roger nodded and continued to eat. After a long time, Roger put down the bowl and chopsticks in his hand, burped loudly and said. I'm stuffed. Is that so? Teus said, looking at the clean plates on the table. Roger nodded and walked down the table. At this time, Mrs. Brief came over with a plate of freshly fried beef. Roger, you don't want to eat? No more eating, I'm full. All right then, Mrs. Brief said, bringing the fried beef to the table. Mom, I'm full too. You guys don't eat anymore, then my husband. I'm full too. After a while, Tazy found Roger sitting on a piece of grass. Roger, do you want to take a nap at noon? If you need a nap, I can take you to your room. Yeah, Roger nodded. By the way, Sister Tazy, I want to buy some universal capsules without anything put in them from you. You mean the empty universal capsule? Roger nodded again. Of course you can, but what do you want to do with the empty universal capsule? After I sell my spaceship, I'm going somewhere else. Where to go? Go where God is. God, is there really a God in this world? Yes, then can you take me there? No, why? You are too weak, you can't go to that place. Then when will you come back? Have no idea. Humph, you don't know again. Sister Tazy, you just said, take me to have lunch. What's the point of taking a lunch break? Just sleep here. Tazy said, and left angrily. Women are really fickle animals. Roger said, and found a cooler place to rest. In the afternoon, after waking up from his nap, Roger went to wash up. When he finished washing up, he saw Tazy, who was angry before, walking over with a smile. Tazy, sister, wake up, what's the matter with you? You said at noon that you were going to see God. Can you tell me what God looks like? Have no idea, because I haven't seen him yet, but I know where he is. Where is he? Tazy asked. Roger pointed to the sky. Heaven, you mean the sky? Roger nodded. Impossible, if there really are gods in the sky, we humans would have discovered them long ago. Roger smiled without saying anything. So Roger, if you really see the gods, can you come back? Why, actually, I am a science fiction adventure novelist, and I want to write a story about aliens. Oh, so I need a subject for creation. I am very interested in what you said. If you can help me, I will be very grateful to you. This, I beg you, then I'll think about it. Consider, what do you mean? If I'm done, I'll come back to see you guys. Really? That's great. By the way, do you have a cell phone? It would be easier for me to find you. No, but if you want to give me one, I have no objection. Good. Tazy nodded. By the way, did I forget what the Yardrat people you mentioned this morning looked like? Do you have a pen? I can draw it for you. Yes, I'll get it for you right away. After a while, Tazy brought a pen and a drawing board. Here, I'll give you the pen. Roger took the pen from Ty's and began to draw on the drawing board. Soon, a sketch of a Yardrat star appeared. Roger, is this the Yardrat alien? Yes, but it hasn't been colored yet. His skin is red, and the color of his clothes is the same color as the clothes I'm wearing. Really? But you draw really well, better than me. Are you really only 5 years old? Yes, so your year is 365 days, right? 364 days. Roger, didn't you say that you Saiyans are a fighting race? How come you are so smart? Maybe I am special because I am a genius. Roger, you are really not modest. Tazy laughed. There's no way. If I were modest, it might hit you even harder. It hit me. Why? Because on my planet, being too modest will make people call you Versailles. Versailles, what does this mean? For example, a great writer earns hundreds of thousands a month, and says to a flop who only earns a few thousand a month, I'm such a flop. This is Versailles. Oh, so that's what you mean. Tazy laughed immediately after hearing this. Then I must be the failed author. Roger smiled and said nothing. You are a failure, but, if you fail, you can inherit billions of dollars in your family's wealth. So what is your planet like? I mean, what did he look like before your planet was destroyed? Red, there isn't so much ocean, it's mostly Gobi Desert. Oh, what about the temperatures? The temperature is relatively dry, and the gravity of our planet is 10 times that of your Earth. So that's it. In this way, Tazy kept asking Roger. Time flies, and 3 days have passed in a blink of an eye. After Roger got 1 billion and helped Dr. Brief answer various questions about the spacecraft, he said goodbye to Dr. Brief and left. During these 3 days, Bulma, who was originally hostile to Roger, became friends with Roger under Ty's persuasion. After 3 days of getting along, Bulma had a little, good impression of Roger. So when she heard that Roger was leaving, she said with some reluctance in her heart. Roger, when will you come to Exedu to play with me again? I don't know, but if I have time, I will definitely come and play with you. Okay, then you can't lie to me. Roger, if you are free in the future, you can come over anytime. You are always welcome to our home. Mrs. Brief said. Good, Sister Tazy, Bulma, Uncle, Aunt, I'm leaving. Yes. The 4 nodded. Seeing this, Roger immediately flew into the sky. Fly, sister, can he fly? Yeah, didn't he tell you? No, when he comes over again, I will definitely interrogate him thoroughly. Interrogation. Ask him. Bulma laughed dryly. After leaving Bulma's house, Roger flew to Bowsy Mountain outside Exedu according to what Tazy said. Bowsy Mountain was full of forests and wild animals. After Roger circled Bowsy Mountain, he saw a kind old man carrying a bamboo basket on his back, and a baby with a crab-like hairstyle was sitting in the basket. This old man was old Son Gohan, and the baby in his basket was Son Goku. Are you safe and sound? Seeing Sun Wukong arrive safely on Earth, Roger immediately turned around and flew back. Old Sun Wuhan seemed to sense someone behind him and turned around to look back. However, Roger's figure had already disappeared. After flying for an unknown period of time, Roger flew to an uninhabited island. Roger raised his right hand, condensed a golden energy wave in his hand, and shot it into the sea. With a loud bang, the golden energy wave exploded in the sea, raising a wave of hundreds of feet. A large number of fish, shrimps and crabs were blown into the air along with the waves. Roger waved his right hand forward, and a whirlwind appeared, bringing the fish and shrimps to the shore. Of course, there were also some fish, shrimps and crabs that were not brought over and fell into the sea. Roger looked at the fish, shrimps and crabs on the ground and nodded with satisfaction. Then, he suddenly thought of a question, that is, whether cats eat shrimps and crabs. Forget it, let's pack it up first, Roger said, taking out an empty universal capsule and putting all the fish, shrimp and crabs into the universal capsule. After packing the fish, shrimp and crabs, Roger felt that there were not enough fish, so he blew up a few more fish before leaving the island and flying into the sky. The Kalen Tower is the tallest tower on Earth. According to legend, anyone who climbs from the bottom of the tower to the top by his own strength will meet an immortal at the top. If he drinks the immortal water given by the immortal, his strength will increase several times. Countless people have challenged this tower, but all of them have failed. Some climbed for several days, but lost their strength and fell down from the top due to lack of food supplies. Others took a plane to fly up in one breath, but they also failed. If you don't want to climb up by your own strength, you will never see the top of the tower. At this time, there was a cat with white hair all over the body, 2 linear eyes, 3 whiskers on each side of the mouth, 3 eyebrows on the top of the head, and a cane in his right hand. He stood on the Kalen Tower and looked down at the lower world. He was the god Kalen who lived on this Kalen Tower, also known as the Cat Immortal. Suddenly, the Cat Immortal saw a figure flying towards him at a very fast speed. This person was Roger. What a strong aura! After feeling the aura emanating from Roger, the Cat Immortal broke out in a cold sweat. Although Roger had tried his best to restrain his aura, he would still emit it when he used the air dance technique. Roger's combat power had reached 3 million, so even if he just emitted some aura, it would be enough to scare the Cat Immortal. Is he going to come to me? Found it, Roger said, and instantly moved to the Kalen Tower. Ah, the Cat Immortal was frightened and took a few steps back. Hello, my name is Roger, and you are the immortal Korin, right? Yes, I am the immortal Kalen. May I ask if you came here for the super divine water? No, I came here to exchange some senzu beans with you. Senzu beans? Yes, but how do you know that I have senzu beans? I have the ability to predict the future. Predict the future? You mean, you knew I had senzu beans by predicting the future? Yes, Roger said, took out a universal capsule, pressed the switch of the universal capsule, and threw it on the ground. Bang! With a puff of white smoke, a large number of fish, shrimps and crabs appeared on the ground. Fish. When the Cat Immortal saw the sea fish, his expression immediately became very excited. Although he has lived for more than 800 years, his favorite food is still fish. Roger smiled and nodded. Master Korin, how about I exchange these fish for some magic beans from you? Okay, how much do you want? 3 cans. 3 cans. Do you know how many years it will take me to save up enough to buy 1 can? 3 years. That's not a long time. What do you mean it's not a long time? You use such a small amount of fish and want to exchange it for 3 cans of senzu beans from me. No matter what I say, there's no way. Oh, so you complained that there were not enough fish. Don't worry, I still have 3 universal capsules here. The fish in each of these 3 universal capsules is no less than that in the one just now. Real or fake? Of course it's true. Well, give me those 3 universal capsules. If there are really as many fish in those 3 universal capsules as you said, I will give you 3 cans of senzu beans. Deal, the Cat Immortal said, looking around. This place is a bit small, would you please come with me to the bottom of the tower? Under the tower, the Cat Immortal nodded and pushed open a wooden board. After the board was pushed open, there was a ladder inside. Under the ladder, there was a place that looked like a cellar. Of course, this was not a cellar, but inside the Kalen Tower. Call out, tread. Roger flew to the Kalen Tower, and the cat fairy was still slowly climbing down the ladder. But soon, he climbed down the ladder. After seeing this, Roger immediately took out 3 universal capsules, turned on the switches of the 3 universal capsules, and threw them. With 3 streams of white smoke, 3 piles of fish, shrimps and crabs appeared on the ground. The cat fairy licked his lips and said, Roger, I'll go get you some senzu beans now. Yes, Roger nodded. After a while, the cat fairy brought 3 cans of magic beans to Roger. Roger, these are the senzu beans you asked for. Okay, Roger said, taking out an empty universal capsule and putting 3 cans of senzu beans into the universal capsule. Cat Immortal, this universal capsule is really convenient. Yes, if Master Kalen has nothing else to do, I won't bother you. Good. Seeing this, Roger immediately left Kalen Tower and flew towards the heaven above Kalen Tower. Just when Roger was not far from the heaven, the sky suddenly became overcast and a large amount of lightning struck from the clouds. Lightning. Looking at the lightning, Roger immediately formed a protective shield outside his body. The lightning landed on the protective shield and moved around it for a while before disappearing. Roger looked at the lightning moving in the protective shield and immediately entered a state of enlightenment. Enlightenment is the state Roger enters when he comprehends a certain skill or martial arts. It was in the state of enlightenment that Roger created the God-level teleportation. In the heaven, a man with green skin, wearing a white robe, with the mark of God on his chest, and holding a cane in his right hand, was looking down at the lower world. This man was the Earth God. Among the Earth Gods, there stood a man with black skin, wearing a red vest and white trousers, with a red cloth wrapped around his waist and a long white cloth wrapped around his head. The man's name was Mr. Bobo, and he was the servant of the Earth God. That person stopped below. Yes, my Lord God. What do you say he is doing? I don't know, the clouds below are too dark and I can't see anything. How about dispersing the clouds? Do you want to disperse the clouds, my God? Yes, the person who is going to our heaven is no ordinary person, and those lightning bolts can't stop him at all. All right then, Mr. Bobo said, putting his hands on his mouth and shouting towards the dark clouds below. The immortal said, "Let you all disperse." After hearing Mr. Bobo's words, the dark cloud immediately stopped the lightning attack and moved to both sides. After the dark cloud dispersed, the Earth Immortal immediately saw Roger standing in the protective shield. Is it a child? Yes. Mr. Bobo nodded. So what is he doing there now? I don't know. Mr. Bobo shook his head. At this moment, Roger woke up from his epiphany, and a golden lightning appeared on his right palm. Then, the golden lightning flew upward like fireworks and turned into several lightning bolts. However, those lightning bolts soon disappeared into the sky. Lightning. Yes. Mr. Bobo nodded. At this time, Roger moved instantly and appeared in the heaven. After seeing this, the Earth Immortal subconsciously stepped back a few steps. Who are you? Hello, my name is Roger. You must be the god of Earth, right? Yes, I am the god of the Earth. May I ask what brings you here? It's nothing actually, I just want to practice here with you for a while. Practice? Yeah, why not? Yes, I can, but your strength is far beyond mine. I'm afraid there is nothing I can teach you. Roger smiled and said, it doesn't matter, you can also teach me some things besides cultivation. Besides cultivation, for example, creating Dragon Ball or something. Create Dragon Ball. The Earth Immortal was shocked. How do you know that I made the Dragon Balls? I know everything. After hearing this, the Earth Immortal looked at him seriously and said, if you really knew everything, you wouldn't come to me to practice. Well, actually I know that you are from Namek. Namekians. Yes, you Namekians have the ability to create Dragon Balls. But how do you know? Because I am not from Earth, just like you. You are not from Earth, then who are you? Saiyan. Saiyan. Roger nodded. How long will you practice with me? I don't know, anyway, I will be able to leave when I have practiced enough. Then can you tell me something about the Namekians? Of course there is no problem, but I don't know much. Then please tell me what you know. Okay, Roger nodded. Then, he told the Earth Gods what he knew about the Namekians. Namek. Roger nodded. When you came to Earth, you must have taken a spaceship, right? This, I don't remember it very clearly. Bobo, do you know about the spaceship? My Lord God, it seems there is a spaceship. Really have? Yes. Bobo nodded. After hearing this, the Earth Immortal sighed and said, it's a pity that I am a god on Earth now, otherwise I really want to go back to my hometown. God, if you want to go back to your hometown, I can take you back to have a look. No, even if there is a spaceship, it will take a long time to go to Namek. I'm not going back. Roger smiled and said, what if it only takes a few minutes? Yes, I know a skill called teleportation. As long as the Namekians have their energy, I can teleport you to the Namekians. Then can you take me to Namek now? No, I don't know the exact location of Namek yet. Besides, when we go to Namek, I have to find a chi on Earth before I can come back. So that's it. After hearing this, the Earth Immortal felt a little disappointed. But when I go to King Kai of the North, I can take you to Namek. King of the North. King Kai of the North is the god in charge of managing the northern Milky Way. I see. Roger nodded. So what do you want to practice here with me? I want to know information about the previous gods on Earth, and how the Dragon Balls were created. This. Why not? I can tell you how to create the Dragon Balls, but the information about the gods of all generations is kept secret, unless you are willing to become the god of Earth. Well, forget it then. Just tell me how to create the Dragon Balls. Okay. The Earth Immortal nodded. In this way, Roger settled down in the heaven. Time passed quickly, and 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. During these 3 days, Roger learned the creation method of the 7 Dragon Balls through conversations with the Immortals, and also learned from the Earth Immortals how to create things out of thin air, communicate with the mind, etc. At this time, Roger was walking towards a room in the temple with Mr. Bobo. After entering the room, Roger saw clocks everywhere on the walls of the room. Here it is. This is the House of Time, where all the past, present and future time are completed. House of Time. Yes, you will meet some very outstanding people during this time travel. As for when you can come back from the time travel, it depends on you. Mr. Bobo said, and installed an hour hand and a minute hand on a clock without hour hands and minute hands, and then adjusted it to 3 o'clock. The color of the entire clock immediately turned blue. Then, the clock became larger than a person, and the color inside the clock first turned black, and then the entire clock pattern disappeared, turning into a black hole. Okay, go in. Roger nodded and jumped in. After entering the black hole, Roger saw floating clock patterns everywhere. As Roger looked at the clock, his body kept falling down. Is this the power of time? Roger said, feeling the power of time around him. At this moment, a black hole appeared and took Roger outside. As soon as he got outside, Roger saw a man wearing sunglasses and a lavender training suit standing behind several large rocks and looking at something. Roger stepped on the man's head with his right foot and fell to the ground. The man didn't know whether he was frightened or Roger's kick was too strong, and he fell directly to the ground. It hurts. Who attacked me just now? The man said, and saw Roger falling in front of him. Who is it? A delicate voice came from the hot spring in front of the big rock. A beautiful woman with short purple hair was bathing in the hot spring. After hearing this, the man hurried forward to cover Roger's mouth. At this time, a monkey appeared on the branch of a big tree next to the hot spring and chirped. I was so scared, it turned out to be a little monkey. The woman was relieved. Then, the woman came out of the hot spring and changed her clothes behind a big rock. The man was relieved after seeing this. Ha, that was close. Hey, if you want to peek at others, wouldn't you be more careful? After hearing this, Roger glanced at the man and said, Uncle, were you the one who wanted to peek at someone taking a bath just now? Nonsense, I was just passing by. Really? Then I'll go talk to that big sister right now. The man's face changed after hearing this. Then, he looked at Roger with a smile on his face and said, Little boy, I was wrong just now. As long as you don't tell anyone about this, I will agree to anything you ask for. By the way, Uncle, what's your name? The man laughed immediately after hearing this. I'm Wu Tian, the favorite disciple of the world's #1 martial artist, Wu Tato. Wu Tian, so you are Master Roshi. What is Master Roshi? My name is Wu Tian, not Turtle Hermit. Wu Tian said, leaning close to Roger and whispered. Oh yeah, did you just see that? Do you see it? That is, Wu Tian whispered in Roger's ear. No. Roger shook his head. Really, that's a pity. After hearing this, Roger looked around and thought about it. This is indeed the past, but this is a sealed past. This Mr. Bobo is indeed not simple. Hey kid, after talking for so long, I still don't know your name. My name is Roger. Roger. Yeah, Roger nodded. At this moment, a man wearing a crane hat, sunglasses, and a green martial arts uniform came over with 2 bald men with the word, Wu, written on their clothes. This man was the Crane Immortal when he was young. And the 2 bald men were his little followers. Crane Immortal. Ha, big stupid turtle, you are lazy and come here to peek again, aren't you? You dare to say that to me? You just want to peek here, don't you? Wu Tian immediately retorted after hearing this. At this time, the younger brother standing behind the Crane Immortal said to Wu Tian with a flattering face. Miss Fang Fang, you will definitely become Boss He's girlfriend. If you want to peek, just wait patiently, said another little brother. Crane Immortal. That's absolutely right. Stop joking. Miss Fang Fang doesn't like a pretentious guy like you. Even a broken tile would scare you to the point of your legs going limp, and you still dare to talk about me. Humph. Wu Tian snorted coldly. If I'm serious, I can knock you down with one punch. Well said, He Shanren said, and immediately made a fighting gesture. After seeing this, the two younger brothers beside him immediately stepped back to make more space for the two to fight. After seeing this, Wu Tian immediately broke out in a lot of cold sweat on his forehead. Ah, it hurts so much, my waist, my waist. Wu Tian suddenly squatted down and said. Humph, it's useless. It's just a waste of time to take you seriously. Seeing this, the Crane Immortal said with disdain. Let's go. A weakling, said one of Hexionren's younger brothers. You want to escape. It's really despicable. Wu Tian saw the three people leave and immediately pretended to be arrogant. Roger, who was standing aside, was speechless after seeing this. Whether this turtle master was young or old, his temperament has not changed at all. Uncle, can you take me to meet Master Wu Tato? What uncle? I'm only 18 years old this year. You should call me brother. After hearing this, Wu Tian said with an unhappy face. But you don't look 18. Roger said. I'm really 18. Wu Tian said angrily. Okay, I'll just believe you're 18. What do you mean by just believe it? I am 18. Okay, you 18, then can you take me to see your master? Wu Tian snorted coldly. Of course you can, but you have to keep what happened just now a secret. Of course, Roger said with a smile. He was also at the scene just now, how could he tell this matter to others? Seeing this, Wu Tian took Roger to see Wu Tato. At Wu Tato's dojo, a large number of Wu Tato's disciples were sitting cross-legged on the ground, listening to a white-haired old man's explanation of martial arts. This man was Wu Tato. Suddenly, a man came in with a child. These two people were Wu Tian and Roger. Teacher Wu Tato. Wu Tian knelt down and saluted Wu Tato. Wu Tato nodded and said. He said his name is Roger and he wanted to ask you for advice on martial arts. Can you teach me martial arts? Wu Tato looked at Roger. Hello, Master Wu Tato. Hello, when you say, ask for advice, do you mean exchanging martial arts skills or some guidance on spiritual practice? Exchange martial arts. This kid actually wants to spar with Master Wu Tato. He is simply overestimating his own abilities. After hearing this, Wu Tato's disciples immediately started talking about it. Quiet, Wu Tato said to the disciples who were discussing. Yes, after hearing this, the disciples immediately stopped talking. At this time, Wu Tato looked at Roger again and said. Roger, why do you want to compete with me in martial arts? Because I want to become stronger. I see. How about scheduling the competition in 3 days? Teacher Wu Tato. The disciples were surprised. Wu Tato actually agreed to Roger's rude request. Seeing this, Wu Tato shook his head and signaled them not to speak. Okay. After listening to this, Roger thought about it and nodded. In that case, I will come back to see you in 3 days. Wu Tato nodded. Seeing this, Roger immediately got up from the ground and left the martial arts arena. Chapter 11. Wait for me, Wu Tian shouted, stood up from the ground and ran out. Soon, Wu Tian caught up with Roger. You were really brave, you dared to challenge Master Wu Tato. To be honest, even I don't dare to challenge Master Wu Tato. After hearing this, Roger looked at him and said. Not to mention Master Wu Tato, you don't even dare to challenge that person just now. Who said that? I just had a backache just now, and you see, weren't they scared away by me? Quote. Roger is speechless. Are you scaring him away? It's obvious that you don't dare to fight, and the other party just doesn't want to waste time with you. Wu Tian was immediately furious after hearing this. It was bad enough that the Crane Immortal looked down on him, but now he was actually looked down upon by a little ghost. If you don't agree, you can fight me. Let's fight. Why would I be afraid of a little devil? After hearing this, Roger smiled at Wu Tian. Wu Tian looked at the confident Roger and immediately became very nervous. Although Roger was small, he didn't know why. I feel like I can't see through him. It's okay if he loses, but if his fellow apprentices knew about it, how would he save his face? Then come on over here. At this moment, Roger stepped back a few steps and said, You want me to attack you? Wu Tian pointed at himself and said, Yeah, any questions? I am older than you, so even if we want to fight, I will let you attack first. Okay, but don't regret it. Regret? Wu Tian, never regret anything I do. As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Tian immediately felt a gust of wind passing by him, and Roger, who was originally standing in front of him, had already disappeared. Could it be? Wu Tian turned around and saw Roger's right fist coming towards him. Wu Tian subconsciously raised his hands to block Roger's right fist. At this time, a huge gust of wind came out from Roger's right fist and directly blew Wu Tian away. Wu Tian's body was instantly blown away hundreds of meters. Whoosh! Wu Tian was breathing heavily, and a lot of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. When he looked at Roger again, he no longer had the same playful smile as before, but a kind of fear. Although Roger's punch just now did not touch him, the wind from Roger's punch just now made him feel an unprecedented sense of oppression. He had no doubt that if the punch just now hit him, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. How about we continue fighting? Roger smiled and asked Wu Tian. No need, I give up. Wu Tian said tremblingly. Seeing this, Roger turned around and walked forward. After seeing this, Wu Tian immediately chased after him. Roger, can you tell me how you became so strong? How to practice? Yes, Wu Tian nodded. I think it should be weight-bearing training. Training with weights. Yeah, Roger nodded. But, I also practiced with weights, but my strength is totally not on the same level as yours. Of course, because I am a genius. After hearing this, Wu Tian snorted coldly. I am also a genius, otherwise I would not have become Master Wu Taito's favorite disciple. Well, actually I am not from Earth, but a Saiyan. Saiyan, this is too complicated to explain. The short answer is that I am not an ordinary person. Then why did you challenge Master Wu Taito? Wu Tian asked. Didn't you say he was very strong? So I wanted to see if I could learn anything from him. What did you learn? After hearing this, Roger did not answer, but continued to walk forward. Wu Taito Dojo. After Roger and Wu Tian left, Crane Immortal immediately came to Wu Taito and asked. Teacher Wu Taito, why do you want to compete with him in 3 days? Even if you don't fight that kid, we can still defeat him for you. After hearing this, Wu Taito said solemnly. You are no match for him. I am not his opponent. After hearing this, He Shanren looked at Wu Taito with disbelief. Yes, Wu Taito nodded. Even I don't have absolute confidence that I can defeat him. How is this possible? Master Wu Taito, you are the best martial artist in the world. There is always someone better than you. On the other side. After walking for a while, Roger came to a big waterfall. This big waterfall is the waterfall that Sun Wukong saw Wu Taito split open with his chi in the original Dragon Ball. Roger looked at the waterfall in front of him, and immediately sat down in front of the waterfall and began to practice. This time and space is the sealed time and space created by Bobo, so he can feel the power of time in this world. Practice. Wu Tian saw Roger sitting down to practice, so he also sat in front of the waterfall. However, his mind was full of the hot springs just now, so he couldn't calm down to practice. He could only stare blankly at the waterfall in front of him. No, it's too boring. After sitting for a while, Wu Tian stood up from the cliff of the waterfall. Wu Tian turned around and was about to leave, but he saw Hexenren and his 2 younger brothers coming over. What do you want to do? Wu Tian thought that Crane Immortal was here to pick a fight with him, and said with some fear in his heart. Crane Immortal snorted coldly. Don't worry, big stupid turtle, I'm not here to find you. Who are you calling a stupid turtle? I'm saying you're a stupid turtle. Who is the big stupid turtle talking about? The big stupid turtle is talking about you. Oh, it turned out that it was the big stupid turtle who said that to me. Wu Tian laughed. You. He gritted his teeth in anger after hearing this. Forget it, I'll take care of him first, and then I'll take care of you. I'm so scared, Wu Tian said, pretending to be scared. You fool. When He Shanren saw Wu Tian looking like he deserved a beating, he couldn't help wanting to beat him up. At this moment, Roger, who was disturbed by the two men, stood up from the ground. What, are you looking for me? Roger asked the Crane Immortal. Humph. The Crane Immortal snorted coldly. That's right, I'm looking for you. Today, you actually overestimated your own abilities and wanted to challenge Teacher Wu-Tato. Today, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of Teacher Wu-Tato. Is this what Master Wu-Tato meant? Roger asked. No, I think that there is no need for Master Wu-Tato to take action against you. Really, in that case, let me see your strength. After hearing this, Crane Immortal snorted coldly and made fighting gestures with both hands. Since you are young, I will let you attack me first, so that you won't be accused of bullying me. That's what you said. I said it. As soon as he finished speaking, Shanren suddenly felt a force on his neck. Then, he lost consciousness and passed out. Boss he. After seeing this, the two younger brothers of Crane Immortal immediately stepped forward and shook Crane Immortal's body. Young man, it's okay for me to show off, but it's dangerous for you to show off. Roger said, standing behind Crane Immortal. When Wu Tian heard Roger's pretentious words, he immediately admired Roger. When will he be able to show off like this? Boss he. The two younger brothers of Crane Immortal continued to shout at Crane Immortal. Roger. Don't worry, he's fine, he's just temporarily unconscious. At this moment, Crane Immortal was finally awakened by the two men. How did I end up on the ground? I don't know, we just saw you suddenly fall to the ground. It hurts. At this moment, Shanren suddenly felt a sharp pain in his neck. What's wrong, boss he? Neck. The two looked at Crane Immortal's neck and found that there was nothing abnormal about Crane Immortal's neck. Hurry, take me away from here. It's boss he. After hearing this, the two immediately helped the Crane Immortal up and took him away. Hey, big bald crane, didn't you just say you were going to deal with me? What's wrong? Wu Tian saw the three people leave, and his heart immediately became extremely arrogant. After seeing this, Roger crossed his legs on the ground, closed his eyes and began to practice. Roger, what's the matter? Roger said with his eyes closed. Where did you hear that just now? Quote. Saw it in a book. What book? Are you free? Good. Roger, I don't think you look like a kid at all. You don't look 18. Forget it, I won't talk to you anymore, I'll leave first. Wu Tian said, turning around and walking back. After walking a few steps, Wu Tian secretly glanced back and found that Roger was still practicing with his eyes closed, and whispered. What a boring guy. After saying that, Wu Tian left the waterfall. After Wu Tian left, Roger gradually entered a state of enlightenment as he continued to perceive the power of time around him. On the other side, after leaving the waterfall, Hexian returned to his residence and applied medicine to his neck. Boss he, what happened just now? Asked one of the Hexian's younger brothers. Just now, I think the kid knocked me out with his palm at an incredibly fast speed. Incredibly fast speed? Yes, I didn't expect this kid to be so strong. I originally wanted to help Teacher Wu-Tato defeat this kid and win Miss Fangfang's heart, but I didn't expect. Boss he, do you think the master can defeat that little devil? I don't know. Crane Immortal shook his head. Time flies, and 3 days have passed in a blink of an eye. During these 3 days, Roger has been sitting in front of the waterfall to practice except for eating. After 3 days of understanding, he has successfully mastered the power of time. At this time, Roger has arrived at Wu-Tato's dojo and saw Wu-Tato sitting on the dojo ground and the disciples sitting around him. This also includes Crane Immortal. You are here. Wu-Tato said calmly. Roger nodded. Seeing this, Wu-Tato immediately stood up from the ground. If you want to challenge yourself, start now. Then Master Wu-Tato, can we fight somewhere else? Roger asked. Change place. Wu-Tato asked in surprise. So where do you want to fight? Let's go to a place where it's just you and me. You want to fight me alone? Yes. Roger nodded. Wu-Tato thought for a moment and said. Okay, I promise you. Teacher Wu-Tato. After hearing this, Wu-Tato's disciples wanted to persuade Wu-Tato. After all, there was no such rule in the dojo. After hearing this, Wu-Tato waved his hand at the disciples and said. So where do you want to fight? Anywhere is fine, as long as there's no one around. Roger said. Then you stay here and wait until I finish the duel before you come out. Wu Tato said to the disciples. Teacher Wu Tato. After hearing this, some disciples were a little reluctant, but seeing Wu Tato's serious expression, they immediately dared not say anything more. Otherwise, they would definitely be punished. Then Roger, let's go outside, shall we? Wu Tato said to Roger. Okay. After saying that, the two of them immediately walked out of the dojo. After a while, they came to the open space outside the dojo. Then Roger, how about we fight here? No, this place is not far from your dojo, let's go to another place. Where to go? Just come with me. All right then. Wu Tato said, and continued to walk forward with Roger. Teacher Wu Tato is gone, said a disciple who was peeking from the roof of the dojo. Gone, yes, in front of the waterfall. After walking for a while with Wu Tato, Roger came to the waterfall. Waterfall, is this the place you chose for the competition? Roger nodded. So, let's get started, shall we? Wu Tato said, making a fighting gesture with both hands. Roger stood still. Then come over here and attack. Okay, Wu Tato said, and immediately rushed towards Roger. Soon, Wu Tato came in front of Roger, and his fists were like the wind, attacking Roger. Roger shook his body and easily dodged Wu Tato's attack. What? Wu Tato was startled and kicked towards Roger with his right foot. Roger moved to the right and dodged. Wu Tato saw this and immediately retracted his right foot and quickly stepped back. You were really awesome, but I won't give up so easily. Ah, Wu Tato said, and his body suddenly transformed into 3 clones. This is exactly Tian Xinhan's 4-body fist. 4-body fist. Roger smiled. At this moment, Wu Tato and his 3 clones rushed towards Roger. Roger's figure flashed and he also transformed into 3 clones. Wu Tato was shocked that his 4-body punch was learned by Roger in an instant. Just when Wu Tato was surprised, his 3 clones were knocked down by Roger's 3 clones at the same time, leaving only him. Interesting, then why don't you try my trick? Wu Tato said, clasping his hands together to store energy, converting the energy in his body into tens of thousands of watts of electricity. 10,000 nations shocking palm. Wu Tato shouted, and used the electric current in his hand to attack Roger. Roger moved to the left and dodged. Wu Tato shouted angrily, and continued to use other tricks to attack Roger. However, the difference in strength between the two was too great, and no matter how Wu Tato attacked, he could not hurt Roger. After a while, Wu Tato gasped and looked at Roger. No, such a meaningless attack is useless, I must calm down. Wu Tato said, and immediately closed his eyes. After closing his eyes, Wu Tato's heart immediately became calm. Close your eyes, Roger said in his heart. At this moment, Wu Tato's right fist hit Roger very quickly. Roger moved to the right and dodged Wu Tato's attack again. At this time, Wu Tato's left fist attacked again quickly. Roger moved to the left and dodged Wu Tato's attack again. Then, Wu Tato raised his feet again and attacked Roger. Roger still dodged Wu Tato's attack. His attack speed seems to have become a little faster. Roger thought in his heart. At this moment, Roger saw a white breath suddenly appear on Wu Tato's body. This white breath is invisible to others. Because Roger has a supernatural understanding, his eyes have the power to see through the essence of all things. Roger saw a red breath when he was fighting with Wu Tato just now. Roger named this breath the breath of martial arts. The reason why it is called the breath of martial arts is that this breath can only be found in martial artists like Wu Tato who have practiced martial arts for a long time and have a martial arts spirit. When Roger saw this white breath now, it gave people a very calm feeling, which should be a state similar to the state of selflessness. Still no solution. Wu Tato stopped attacking after attacking for a while. I lost. Do you give up? Yes, if you lose, it's no big deal. All right. In fact, you don't have to care about my face and fight me in my dojo. Wu Tato said, it's okay, I don't care about it anyway. Master Wu Tato, thank you for agreeing to fight with me. Compared to you, you are the master, right? Wu Tato said. This is not important. What is important is that you are a good teacher. Okay, teacher, Wu Tato asked with a puzzled look on his face. Since you don't want me to call you master, how about I call you Mr. Wu Tato? Okay, Wu Tato nodded. Roger, can you tell me where your master learned it from? I don't have a master, I'm self-taught. Self-taught? Then you are still a genius. You don't need to tell me this, I know it. You are really not modest. Wu Tato laughed. If you have time in the future, you can come to my temple at any time. I welcome you at any time. Okay, Roger nodded. Then I'll leave. After hearing this, Roger nodded again. Seeing this, Wu Tato immediately left the waterfall. After watching, Roger sat cross-legged on the ground, thinking about what he had just realized. Not long after Roger sat down, a hurried figure ran over from a distance. This person was Wu Tian. Roger, who won the fight just now? Wu Tian said, panting. After hearing this, Roger immediately opened his eyes and said, since you want to know so much, why don't you ask your master? I asked, but he didn't tell me. In that case, I won't tell you. You fool. Wu Tian gritted his teeth in anger after hearing this. Then, he quickly calmed down and said, Roger, please, just tell me. Draw. Impossible, you must have decided the winner, otherwise you wouldn't have fought for so long. Your master won. Real or fake? Real. You just like to lie to me, you won, right? Although Wu Tian didn't see the two fighting, he had already guessed it in his heart. Is winning or losing important to you? Roger smiled. Of course it's important. My master is the best martial artist in the world. If he loses to you, wouldn't he be number 2? Do you have anything else to ask me besides this? Not yet. After hearing this, Roger immediately closed his eyes and began to practice. You are a cultivation maniac, you only know how to cultivate all day. I'd better go see Miss Fangfang. After Wu Tian finished speaking, he left the waterfall. Earth, heaven. The Earth gods and Mr. Bobo were watching Roger's situation in the past through the aperture created by Mr. Bobo. My Lord God, it seems that Roger has been practicing all the time. Yes, the Earth Immortal nodded. It was unknown how long it had passed before Roger successfully comprehended the spirit of martial arts and the state of selflessness. At this time, Roger had stood up from the cliff beside the waterfall and looked at the sky. This was the Earth hundreds of years ago, so the air and natural environment here are better than in the future. This is also the mark left by time on the Earth. It's time to go back. Roger flicked his right hand forward, and a black hole suddenly appeared. This black hole is the entrance back to the main time and space. Roger stepped into it and entered a space full of clocks. After Roger walked in, his whole body immediately became light and fluttery, as if there was no gravity, and rose up. After a while, Roger saw a black hole. Roger flew out of the hole and returned to the House of Time where he had just entered. At this moment, a man walked in from outside the House of Time. This man was Mr. Bobo. Welcome back. Bobo smiled and said to Roger. Roger nodded. Mr. Bobo, how long will I be in there? 3 days. So the time there is the same as outside. Mr. Bobo nodded. Then Mr. Bobo, can you take me to the Spirit Time House to practice? Of course you can, but I'm afraid I can't bear it. It's okay, Mr. Bobo, I can definitely handle it. All right then, Mr. Bobo said, and took Roger out of the House of Time. Mr. Bobo, is there any food and water in the Spirit Time room? Yes, but there is only 1 year's food and water. How long do you plan to practice in there? I don't know, let me practice for a year first. Okay, but you can't stay in the Spirit Time House for more than 2 years, otherwise the entrance to the Spirit Time House will be closed. Mr. Bobo reminded. Yes, Roger nodded. After a while, Roger followed Mr. Bobo to the Spirit Time House. As soon as Roger entered the Spirit Time House, he saw 2 huge hourglasses. In front of the 2 hourglasses was an endless white sky and ground. It was hard for Roger to imagine how long Mr. Bobo had spent to build this Spirit Time House. This is the Spirit Time House. The ground temperature below the steps is between 50 degrees Celsius and minus 40 degrees Celsius. The gravity on the ground is 10 times that of the Earth. The air is relatively hot and thin compared to the outside. So you must do your best when you practice here. Roger nodded. As for the food and water, they are all in the houses at the back. I will get some more later. Roger nodded again. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Okay. Mr. Popo immediately walked towards the entrance behind him. After taking a look at the vast space in front of him, Roger immediately walked forward. After walking down the stairs, Roger instantly felt that his body was much heavier. However, 10 times the gravity was nothing to him, because he had lived on planet Vegeta, where the gravity was 10 times that of the Earth. Compared with gravity, he felt that the sultry temperature and thin air around him made it more difficult for him to adapt. The speed of time here is indeed much slower than outside. Roger has already comprehended the power of time, so he can easily feel the speed of time around him. If I can slow down the opponent's time for 4 weeks, will the opponent's speed also be slowed down? As this thought came to mind, Roger immediately entered a state of enlightenment. It was unknown how long it had passed before Roger woke up from his enlightenment. He looked around and suddenly a large amount of time power emanated from his body. The law of time. With a light shout, the flow of time around Roger slowed down again. Success. Roger felt the time around him slow down, and immediately retracted the power of time emanating from his body. But I don't know how long this time rule will be effective. I have to find someone to try it next time. After saying that, Roger began to practice. Although Roger's current strength is very strong, he has not even mastered the Super Saiyan yet. If he hadn't been lucky, the people of Frieza's army hadn't found him, and he might have died in the universe. So he knew very well that if he wanted to survive in this world, he must have very strong power. Time passed in a flash, and a year passed in a blink of an eye. Roger successfully practiced to become a Super Saiyan. 1 year passed in the Spirit Time House, and only 1 day passed outside Heaven. The Earth Immortal and Mr. Popo were standing outside the Temple of Heaven at this time. A whole day has passed and he hasn't come out yet. Could it be that he has forgotten the time? I don't know. Mr. Bobo shook his head. At this moment, a sound of footsteps came from the temple. The Earth Immortal and Mr. Bobo looked in the direction of the sound and saw a ragged little boy. This man was Roger. Because Roger had been in there for a year, his actual age was now 6 years old. After a year, Roger had grown a lot taller. God, Mr. Bobo. The two nodded. Mr. Bobo, can you help me prepare food and water for bathing? Okay, I'll get ready now. After a long time, Roger took a shower, changed into clean clothes, and sat in the heaven to eat the food prepared by Mr. Bobo. When the Earth gods saw Roger's exaggerated eating, they were immediately a little surprised. Roger, didn't you eat anything in there? No, the ones I make myself are not as delicious as Mr. Popo. So that's it. Yeah, Roger nodded. By the way, Lord God, do you know the fortune-telling grandma? I know. What's wrong? I need to find her for something. Can you tell me where she is? Is there something wrong? Roger nodded again. I know it, but if you ask her to tell your fortune, her fee will be very high. Of course, you can also ask her to tell your fortune for you by defeating the masters who are hired at high salaries. It's okay, just tell me where she is. Well then. After hearing this, the Earth Immortal immediately told Roger the location of the divination of the Grandma's palace. After dinner, Roger said goodbye to the two and left the heaven. In a huge palace in a desert oasis, there was an old woman dressed in black and wearing a black witch hat. She was standing in front of a huge crystal ball. She was the fortune teller. Behind her stood a man who looked like a vampire. His name was Batman. He not only sucked blood, but also turned himself into a bat. It looks like a guest is coming. The fortune teller suddenly looked up at the sky outside the palace. Guest, let's go. Oh, good. After a while, the two came to the outside of the palace and saw a child flying down from the sky and landing in front of them. This person was Roger. When the fortune teller saw that the person coming was a child, she immediately narrowed her eyes and said, "Little guy, are you here to ask me for divination?" Roger nodded. "Are you a fortune teller?" "Yes, I am the fortune teller." "What is your name, little one?" "My name is Roger." "Roger, since you came to see me, you should know the rules of asking me for divination, right?" "No, so are you going to pay, or fight my men?" "Fight with your men. Is that so? In that case, Batman, are you ready to fight him?" "Yes." After a while, the fortune teller brought Roger to a competition stage. The area of the competition stage was not very large, only 100 meters. This is where you fight. The rules of the battle are very simple. You win if you knock him down or he surrenders. Good, Roger said, and immediately jumped onto the stage. Batman saw this and also jumped onto the stage. Well, I now declare that the competition has begun. Ah! After hearing this, the Batman immediately rushed towards Roger. Roger's figure flashed and he came behind the Batman in a blink of an eye. He raised his right foot and kicked the Batman on the back. The Batman screamed loudly and his body was kicked into a pool like a thread. Batman. The fortune teller was shocked. At this time, a lot of water came out of the bat's mouth and emerged from the water. In the first round, Roger wins. After hearing this, Roger stood on the stage with a calm face. Then the second round begins. You, the Invisible Man, go. The fortune teller said to the air beside her. Yes. A voice in the air replied to the fortune teller. This person was the transparent man that the fortune teller had mentioned. The transparent man jumped with both feet. Because the transparent man was transparent, the fortune teller and the others did not see the transparent man. However, just because others could not see the transparent man did not mean that Roger could not see it. Roger could see things that ordinary people could not see with his eyes. Although the transparent man was transparent, he could see the thermal image of the transparent man. All objects in nature, whether it is Arctic glaciers, flames, human bodies, or even the extremely cold deep space of the universe, as long as their temperature is higher than absolute 0-273, they will have infrared radiation. This is the result of the thermal motion of molecules inside the object. Can we start now? Roger asked. Yes, the fortune teller replied. As soon as she finished speaking, Roger appeared in front of the Invisible Man like the wind, and kicked the Invisible Man in the abdomen with his right foot. Ah! With a scream, the Invisible Man was kicked out of the competition arena and his body hit the Batman in the pool. The Batman fell into the water again. The fortune teller was shocked and looked towards the pool. Hollow Man. Puff. As soon as the voice fell, the Invisible Man who fell into the pool spit out the water. Fortune-telling Grandma, I'm here. After hearing this, the fortune teller looked at Roger with some anger in her heart. She didn't expect Roger to be so powerful. If things continued like this, she would have to do fortune-telling for him for free. Fortune-telling Grandma, I have defeated them, do you have any other subordinates? Of course, come with me to another place. Another place. Roger jumped off the stage. You'll know when you get there. Oh, after a long time, Roger followed the fortune teller to the palace and came out of the mouth of a demon stone statue. There was a log bridge in front of the statue, and under the bridge was molten lava. On the other side of the bridge, there was also a demon stone statue. A tall mummy man came out of the mouth of the demon stone statue. This man was the fortune teller's third subordinate, the mummy. Defeat him and get to the other side, and you win. The fortune teller said to Roger. After hearing this, the mummy clasped his hands together and looked at Roger with a smile on his face. Little guy, you dare to challenge me, don't blame me for not reminding you. If you accidentally fall into the lava, I can't save you. If you admit defeat now, it's not too late. Roger smiled and said, thanks for the reminder, but I won't lose. Really? After hearing this, the mummy immediately walked up to the bridge. After seeing this, Roger also followed him up. So, you two, let's start now. The fortune teller said to the two. Okay, Roger nodded. After hearing this, the mummy immediately became serious. Although he didn't know Roger's strength, he knew that they must be very strong to defeat the Invisible Man. At this moment, Roger stepped on the ground with both feet, and kicked the mummy with his right foot. Bang! Before the mummy could react, Roger kicked the mummy in the face with his right foot, and kicked him to the demon statue behind him. With a loud bang, the mummy smashed the demon statue behind him to the ground. Roger appeared in front of the mummy at some point. After seeing this scene, the fortune teller was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Roger's strength was completely overwhelming. Fortune-telling woman, did I win this round? Roger turned around and asked the fortune-telling woman. You win. After hearing this, the fortune teller said with a smile. If she had looked down on Roger before, she was completely impressed by his strength. Do you have any other subordinates? No need to compete, I'll tell your fortune for free, said the fortune teller. She was a person who had seen the world after all. If she still couldn't see the difference in strength between Roger and her men, then she would have lived in vain. Roger smiled and nodded. It's too hot here, Shall we talk somewhere else? Good. After a while, Roger followed the fortune teller into her palace. What do you want me to predict? The fortune teller asked. I want you to help me find a bead. There are a lot of beads, you have to be more specific. Do you know Dragon Balls? They are orange-yellow beads with stars on them. If you collect 7 of them, your wish will come true. You mean Dragon Ball? You know. Of course I know, but I can only predict one. Then let's divine one. Good, the fortune teller said, and chanted a spell in front of the crystal ball in front of her. A bright light instantly lit up from the crystal ball. Then, a picture appeared on the crystal ball. The picture showed a cave with a 5-star Dragon Ball in it. Is this the Dragon Ball you were looking for? The fortune teller asked. Roger nodded. Do you know where this cave is? Let me see. This cave is located in the north. North. What is the exact location? In the north XXXXX. Oh, do you have a map? Roger had just arrived on Earth and was not familiar with it. Yes, but I have to get it, you have to wait for me for a while. Good. Seeing this, the fortune teller immediately went to get the map. After a while, the fortune teller brought a world map over. Here is a map for you. When you get to that place, ask someone and you should be able to find the cave. Thanks. Well, if you have nothing to do, leave my palace. Good. After Roger finished speaking, he immediately left the fortune teller's palace. Seeing Roger leave, the fortune teller immediately began to predict Roger's future. How come I can't see anything? Could it be that I can't see his future? On the other side, after Roger left the palace, he immediately landed in the desert outside the palace and comprehended the divination technique of the fortune teller. Although he had just seen the fortune teller use divination, divination was not that simple, so he only saw some superficial knowledge. After comprehending for a while, Roger knew that he would not be able to learn the divination technique for a while, so he temporarily stopped comprehending and flew towards the north of the earth. After an unknown amount of time, Roger flew to the vicinity of the 5-star Dragon Ball predicted by the fortune teller according to the map. There happened to be a small village nearby, and Roger found a villager to inquire about the nearby mountains. The mountain of the cave that Roger saw on the crystal ball was very high. After asking, Roger immediately flew towards the surrounding peaks. After spending half a day, Roger finally found the cave on the crystal ball and found the 5-star Dragon Ball in the cave. The fortune teller's palace. The fortune teller was drinking afternoon tea outside the palace with a leisurely look on her face when a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. This person was Roger. Puff. The fortune teller was frightened when she saw Roger suddenly appear, and she spit out the tea she had just drunk. Roger, why are you back? The fortune teller asked Roger. Fortune-telling grandma, can you take me to the underworld? What are you doing in the underworld? Asked the fortune teller. I want to go to the underworld to practice. Quote. Fortune-telling grandmother speechless. Why would a mortal like you go to the underworld to practice? I'm not a fortune teller, I want to practice with Lord Kai. King Kai, do you know King Kai? I don't know him, but I know him. After hearing this, the fortune teller touched her chin with her right hand and looked at Roger. How do you, a mortal, know the King of the North? Secret. If you don't tell me, I won't take you to the underworld. If I tell you, will you take me to the underworld? Roger said with a smile. I didn't say that. The fortune teller turned her head to look at the other side, secretly sighing that Roger was too difficult to deal with. But I can think about it. Consider. Yes, the fortune teller smiled. She said she would consider it and could choose to tell or not tell. In fact, the reason why I know Lord Kai is because I have seen my future. Your future? Roger nodded. But how can you see your future? There is a race in the universe who can use a kind of boxing to let people see their future. Universe, aren't you from Earth? I am a Saiyan. Saiyan, yeah, Roger nodded. No wonder you are so strong at such a young age, it turns out you are not from Earth. What about that fortune-telling old lady going to the underworld? If it's a dead person going to the underworld, then of course there's no problem, but you're a living person, so it's relatively difficult. In addition, if you want to go to King Kai of the North, I have to communicate with him first. Communication. The fortune teller nodded. If he agrees to let you go to his place, I will take you there. All right then. The fortune teller saw this and immediately used the crystal ball to contact the North Kai King on the North Kai King planet. King Kai of the North, King Kai of the North, can you hear me? I am the fortune teller. Fortune-telling mother-in-law. What can I do for you, Grandma Fortune Teller? Asked the King of the North. I have a Saiyan named Roger here, and he wants to come to your place to train. Saiyans. King Kai was shocked. What's wrong, King Kai? Planet Vegeta, the Saiyans' home planet, was destroyed by a meteorite more than a year ago, and now there are only a few Saiyans left. I didn't expect that there are still Saiyans surviving on your Earth. I see. Then do you want King Beiji to come to your place to train? By the way, why did he come to me to practice? Asked the King of the North. Roger, why do you want to go to the North King to practice? The fortune teller asked Roger. Because Lord Kai is a man with a great sense of humor. Sense of humor. After hearing this, the North King felt a little lost. This kid really has good vision. Then the King of the North Realm, do you want him to come to you? Let him come over. Okay, I understand. At this time, the North King suddenly reacted and was a little overwhelmed, but he had already said it, and for the sake of face, he could only let Roger pass. The King of the North, I promise to let you pass. The fortune teller said to Roger. That's great. Roger said happily. But don't be happy too soon, I didn't promise to take you to the underworld. Fortune-telling grandma, if you take me to the underworld, I will definitely not forget your help this time. Come on, if you really can't forget my help this time, just give me some money. 10 million, 10 million, you call that a little? Of course it's 1 point. I get 10 million for each divination I do for someone. How about a discount? Discount, yes, look at how much money a kid like me can have. Okay, then I'll give you 8 million at 20% off. How about a 10% discount? Roger said with a smile. A 10% discount is not impossible. The fortune teller smiled and said. I cut it too low. If you could cut it in half. No, 1 million, no negotiation. Okay then. After hearing this, Roger immediately took out a universal capsule and threw it to the ground. Bang! With a puff of white smoke, a black suitcase appeared on the ground. Roger opened the suitcase, and inside was a full 100 million in cash. When the fortune teller saw the money in the box, her eyes immediately lit up and said, You are such a hidden talent, but you actually have so much money. No, I have to take back what I just said. I can only give you 20% off at most. After hearing this, Roger immediately closed the box. Well, if that's the case, I'll leave. You won't get $1 million this way. After hearing this, the fortune teller gritted her teeth and said, Okay, I'll take a loss, 1 million is 1 million. After hearing this, Roger's mouth twitched. 1 million is a loss. He originally wanted to ask her to send her there for free, but he didn't want to owe her a favor, so he gave her 1 million. In his previous life, 1 million could have bought a large house in his county. However, although Roger was a little unhappy, he still gave the money to the fortune teller. That's a million, count them. No need to count, I just need to look at the thickness of the money. Thickness. The fortune teller nodded. Then get ready, we're heading to the underworld now. After saying that, the fortune teller immediately used the crystal ball to bring the two to the underworld. Outside the underworld, a large number of ghosts who had just arrived were lined up. These ghosts had not yet been judged by the King of Hell, so they would have to go through the judgment before their destination could be decided. Is this the underworld? Roger said, looking at the long queue of ghosts. Yes, do you feel scared? The fortune teller said with a smile. Yes, they are ghosts. Aren't you afraid of them? What are you afraid of? They can't beat me anyway. Quote. Then come in with me. Good, Roger said, and walked in with the fortune teller. After entering the underworld, Roger saw some ghost messengers directing the ghosts in line. At the front of these ghosts, there was a man with red skin, a pair of white horns on his head, and a full beard on his face, who was judging these ghosts. This man was Yama King. You committed murder and arson during your lifetime, so you are sentenced to hell. You have lived an ordinary life, doing neither good nor bad things, so you are sentenced to reincarnation. King Yama. The fortune teller said to King Yama. After hearing the fortune-teller's voice, King Yama immediately looked aside. Fortune-telling grandmother. The fortune-telling grandmother nodded. Fortune-telling grandmother, why did you come here suddenly? Who is the little ghost next to you? He doesn't seem to be dead, right? Of course he is not a dead person. His name is Roger, and he wants to go to King Kai of the North to practice. King Kai of the North, have you greeted him? Okay, he agreed. In that case, Red Ghost, take him to the Yellow Springs Snake Road. King Yama said to a ghost messenger next to him. Okay. The Red Ghost nodded. Is this the soul? At this time, Roger was staring at King Yama. King Yama is the manager of the underworld and can be considered a god. Since Roger had a supernatural enlightenment, he had a plan. This plan was to become a god. The god he wanted to become was not the Super Saiyan god who transformed through physical training, but a god with a soul. The difference between the two is that the Super Saiyan god can become a god for a short period of time after the transformation, and when the transformation time is over, Roger is immortal again. The god that Roger wants to become not only has a soul, but also has a much longer lifespan than mortals. Your name is Roger, right? Please follow me, the Red Ghost said to Roger. Oh, good. Roger came back to his senses and looked at the Red Ghost. Seeing this, the Red Ghost immediately took Roger out of the underworld. Then, King Yama, if there is nothing else, I will go back first. The fortune teller said. Good. Yama nodded. On the other side, after the Red Ghost took Roger out of the underworld, he was very interested in Roger, so he asked Roger. Who are you, Roger? Why can a living person like you come to the underworld? Is it strange for a living person to come to the underworld? Of course, apart from the fortune-telling grandma, I have never seen a living person come to the underworld. So that's it. Yes, the Red Ghost nodded. It's nothing actually. I just spent some money and asked the fortune-teller to bring me to the underworld. Spend money. Roger nodded. By the way, Roger, how do you, immortal, know Lord Kai? If I said I was from the future, would you believe me? The future. Really? Real? I don't believe it. The Red Ghost said, and took Roger to a snakehead entrance. This entrance is the entrance to the Yellow Springs Snake Road. Here is the entrance to the Yellow Springs Snake Road. Is this the entrance to the Yellow Springs Snake Road? Yes, but don't blame me for not reminding you, this snake path is very long, it is said to be 1 million kilometers long. 1 million kilometers. Yes, 100 million years ago, only Lord Yama completed the snake path. Oh, I still have work to do. Good luck to you. Roger nodded. Seeing this, Red Ghost immediately turned around. Suddenly, he felt a strong wind blowing behind him. Red Ghost turned around and found that Roger had disappeared. This guy, who is he? There is a palace in the middle of the Yellow Spring Snake Road. In the palace lives a princess named Princess Snake. Princess Snake is the most beautiful woman in the Yellow Spring. She has both human and snake forms. She looks noble and beautiful, but her nature is very cruel. At this time, she was tasting coffee in her palace. Suddenly, a gust of wind appeared and blew the hot coffee in her hand onto her face. Princess Snake screamed immediately because of the burn, and looked outside with an angry face. But when she looked outside, there was nothing. Did you see anything just now? Princess Snake said to the maids standing on both sides. No, the two shook their heads. North Kai King Planet. North Kai King was looking at the universe leisurely at this moment. Suddenly, he frowned and looked towards the Yellow Spring Snake Road. Bang! With an amazing momentum, a figure stopped on the Yellow Spring Snake Road. This person was Roger. Roger looked around and saw North Kai King Planet below. Found it, Roger said, and instantly moved to the North Kai King star. Teleport. King Kai recognized Roger's teleportation at a glance. Hello, Lord Kai. Roger smiled and greeted the North King. Hello, you are a Saiyan, right? Yeah, Roger nodded. Could it be that you are the Saiyan that the fortune teller mentioned? Yes, Lord Kai, my name is Roger. Quote. The North King was silent. You are so powerful, why are you still training with me? What's wrong, Lord Kai? Nothing, but Roger, you are already so strong, why do you still want to practice with me? The North King can sense the aura, and the aura Roger just emitted when he used the sky dance technique is obviously not weaker than his. I want to find Lord Kai and learn Kaioken and Spirit Bomb. How do you know my Kaioken? I can see the future. Future, yes, and I also know Lord Beerus. King Kai was shocked again after hearing this. You actually know Lord Beerus? Yes, but he is asleep now. Since you already know the future, why do you still come to me to learn Kaioken? Although I can see the future, I can't see everything. Lord Kai, do you want to make your planet bigger? Get bigger. After hearing this, the North King was immediately moved. Can you make my planet bigger? Of course. So how do you help my planet grow bigger? Do you know Dragon Ball? Dragon Balls, I seem to have heard of them, but aren't they only used by Namekians? There are Dragon Balls on Earth too, but of course the Dragon Balls on Earth are definitely not as good as the Dragon Balls on Namek. If I teach you King Ken, can you really use the Dragon Balls to make my planet bigger? Of course. After hearing this, the Northern King thought about it carefully and said, I can promise you, but you have to tell me a joke and make me laugh. Tell a joke. Yes. King Kai nodded. Well then. Roger said, and recalled the joke that Sun Wukong told to King Kai in the original Dragon Ball. The quilt flew away. After hearing this, the North King immediately covered his mouth and laughed. The quilt flew away. The silly cat fell asleep. The silly cat fell asleep. King Kai continued to cover his mouth and laughed. The pencil is bald. Lead. Ha 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 ha. After hearing this, the North King couldn't help laughing. Okay, you made it. Then Lord Kai, can you teach me the Kaioken? After hearing this, the North Kaio gradually stopped laughing and said, of course. In this way, Roger settled down in the North Kai King. Time flies, and a month has passed in a blink of an eye. During this month, Roger has mastered the Kaioken and the Spirit Bomb through the teachings of the North King Kai. In addition, Roger has created the God Training Method through observing the soul of the North King Kai. The God Training Method is a Qigong method that allows Roger to absorb the energy of the universe, thereby strengthening his body and soul. However, if he wants to cultivate from a mortal body to a god's body, he must practice for more than 3 years. 3 years is not long, but it is not short either. You know, the reason why North Kai King was able to become the king of the world is because he was born with the fruit of the core of the world tree. After the North Kai King was born, he lived on that planet as a core of the world alien. Of course, this fruit is divided into 2 types. Ordinary fruits or ordinary kings after birth, and if the fruit is golden, it is the king of the worlds. However, although the North Kai King was born a god, he spent a long time on the core of the world tree. Roger, I have already taught you the King Fist and the Spirit Bomb, is it time for you to leave me? King Kai asked Roger. Leave? Yeah, are you planning to stay here forever? No. Is it not possible? Of course not, this is not your practice room. Roger said with a smile. Don't say that, Lord Kai. How boring it is for you to stay on this planet alone. If I were here, wouldn't I be able to chat with you? Come on, you guys, besides practicing, you just eat and drink for free here, when have you ever chatted with me? After hearing this, the North King was very angry. Lord Kai, do you know Lord Kaioshin? Of course I know that Lord Kaioshin is a god greater than Lord Great Kai and is in charge of the entire universe. Then Lord Kai, can you contact Lord Kaioshin? North Kai was shocked. What do you want to do with Lord Kaioshin? Nothing, I just want to talk to him about something. What's up? Important matter. Important things. Roger nodded. Then you have to tell me what it is first, then I can help you contact him. Do you have any way to contact him? Yes. King Kai nodded. Actually it's nothing, just something about Majin Buu. Majin Buu. King Kai was shocked. Yes, can you help me contact him? I have to ask the Great King Kai about this first. North King Kai said. Roger nodded. On the Great King Kai's planet. The Great King Kai was listening to a song at home with a leisurely look on his face. Suddenly, the voice of the North King Kai came to his ears. Great King Kai, can you hear me? I am the North King Kai. Northern King. The Great King immediately turned off the music and said, King Kai, what can I do for you? It is like this, Lord Kai. I have a Saiyan named Roger who is training with me. He said he wants to talk to Lord Kai about something. Saiyan, North King Kai, you should know that even I can't meet Lord Kai just because I want to. Of course I know this, but But what? But he can see the future, and this time he went to see Lord Kaioshin to talk to him about Majin Buu. Majin Buu. This name sounds familiar. Lord Great Kai, do you still remember Babidi? Oh, I remember, he is the evil magician who controls Majin Buu. Yes. After hearing this, the Great King thought for a moment and said, then I will contact Lord Kaioshin now. Yes. King Kai nodded. How's it going? Roger asked. Grand King Kai promised to help you contact Kingshan. Is that so? North Kai nodded again. Kaioshin realm. East Kaioshin was standing on a grassy field, looking at the universe, when a voice suddenly came from his ear. Lord Kaioshin, can you hear me? I am the Great King Kai. Great King, what can I do for you? It's like this, Lord Kaioshin, there's a human in King Kai's place who says he knows something about Majin Buu and wants to find you. Majin Buu. When East Kai heard this name, his face changed instantly. There were originally 5 Kais in the Kaishan realm, but because of Majin Buu, only he was left. Yes, so where is humanity now? North Kai King Planet. Okay, I get it. What's wrong, Lord Kaioshin? Jebet, who was standing not far away, saw that East Kaioshin looked a little off, and asked. Just now, King Kai came to me and said that a human wanted to tell me something about Majin Buu. Majin Buu, but isn't he already sealed? Lord Kaioshin. I don't know this either. Now only North Kai King Planet knows it. Then Lord Kaioshin, can I go with you? Yes. East Kai nodded. North Kai Planet. Roger did 1-finger push-ups on the ground because he didn't know if East Kai would come. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared on North Kai Planet. These 2 people were East Kai and Jebet. Kai, Lord Kaioshin. When the North King Kai saw the 2 people who suddenly appeared, he was immediately startled. Long time no see, King of the North. Long time no see, Lord Kaioshin. After hearing this, East Kaioshin immediately looked at Roger who was doing push-ups on the ground. Roger saw East Kaioshin looking at him, pushed his right hand towards the ground, and stood up from the ground. Lord Kaioshin, this is Roger. Roger, he is Lord Kaioshin. North Kai introduced the 2 of them. Lord Kaioshin. East Kaioshin nodded. Roger, did you say you wanted to tell me something about Majin Buu? Yes, Lord Kaioshin. What do you want to tell me? Majin Buu has already been sealed by Babidi. Majin Buu, he was just sealed, he didn't die, right? Yes, but how do you know about Majin Buu? East Kai frowned and said. I can see the future. See the future. Lord Kaioshin, there is a race in the universe called Kanasa. They have a special ability that allows people to see the future. Kanasa. Yes, but this race is now extinct. I see. Then Roger, can you tell me what you see in the future? In the future, Babidi has a brother named Babidi, who is also an evil magician like Babidi, and he can also lift the seal of Majin Buu. What? East Kai King God was immediately shocked after hearing this. So when is the future you are talking about? Although I can see the future, it is impossible for me to see everything at once. Although I don't know when Babidi will appear, I know that he has recruited an extremely powerful subordinate. Extremely powerful subordinates. Yes, this person is Dapora, the king of the demon world. Demon. Dapora, the king of the demon realm. After hearing this, East Kai's face changed again. But don't worry, I will take care of him in the future. Yes, Lord Kaioshin, although Roger is young, he is definitely a combat genius, and he has already mastered the Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan, East Kai and Jepitel said in unison. Yes, in Saiyan legend, a Super Saiyan is a super warrior that only appears once every 1,000 years. King Kai said, really? In that case, Roger, how about you fight with Jabet? Me. Jabet pointed at himself. Yeah, what's the problem, Jabet? No, I'm just asking. Jabet shook his head and said. As a follower of East Kai, he naturally had to obey East Kai's orders. Okay, Roger nodded. After seeing this, the North Kai King immediately led Babris and the others to retreat. After seeing this, the East Kai King immediately retreated to the left side of Jebet. Roger, Jabet, if you don't have any other questions, let's get started. The 2 nodded. Call out. After saying that, Roger's figure flashed and he was in front of Jebet in a blink of an eye. Jebet was startled and was about to raise his fist to attack Roger, but he saw Roger squat down and sweep his right foot towards him. What? After seeing this, before Jebber could react, he was knocked down by Roger and fell flat on his face. So fast. East Kai was surprised to see Jebbet lying on the ground. Jebbet shouted angrily, and quickly got up from the ground and looked at Roger. Roger chuckled, and suddenly his figure transformed into more than 10. This move was exactly the clone technique that Roger learned from the Yardrat people. What? Jebbet was shocked. Okay Roger, you win this battle. At this moment, East Kai suddenly said, Lord Kaioshin. After hearing this, Jebbet immediately looked towards East Kaioshin. He didn't understand why he felt that he had lost before he even fought Roger. Moreover, he was East Kaioshin's follower, and losing to a human made him feel very unwilling. East Kaioshin ignored him after hearing this, and instead said to Roger. Roger, are you the Super Saiyan that King Kai of the North mentioned? No. Roger shook his head. Super Saiyan is a transformation. Transform. Yes, Roger said, clenching his hands tightly, and an extremely powerful aura emanated from his body, rising rapidly upwards. The entire ground of the North Kai King shook violently under the influence of Roger's aura. Ah! At this moment, Roger roared loudly, his hair turned golden and stood up, his eyes turned light green, and a golden aura rose from his body. This is exactly what a Super Saiyan does. What? East Kai and Jeppetel were shocked when they saw Roger's transformation. Lord Kaioshin, this is a Super Saiyan, Roger said as he slowly loosened his clenched fists. Really? In that case, let me see how strong you are. Lord Kaioshin. After hearing this, North Kaioshin hurriedly spoke to East Kaioshin. Don't worry, I'm just testing his strength and I won't hurt him. Well, okay. He didn't know the strength of the East Kai, and he hoped Roger wouldn't hurt him. Seeing this, the East Kai raised his hands forward. Roger's body immediately became unable to move. And this is the superpower of the East Kai. My body can't move. After Roger felt that his body couldn't move, he gritted his teeth and used the power in his body to fight against it. When East Kaishin felt the power of Roger's resistance, he immediately gritted his teeth and Lord Kaioshin. Jebbet saw the difficult expression on East Kaioshin's face and was once again shocked by Roger's strength. When North Kaioshin saw the two competing, he immediately became very anxious. He was not worried about Roger, but worried that Roger would hurt East Kaioshin. East Kaioshin's position was 2 levels higher than his. He was the boss of his boss, and he was definitely not someone a small god like him could offend. Ah! Just as the North King was thinking, Roger roared loudly, and an extremely powerful aura emanated from his body, shocking the East King god back. Lord Kaioshin. After seeing this, Jebbet hurried to the East Kaioshin. Lord Kaioshin, are you okay? It's okay. East Kai shook his head. Then he looked at Roger and said, Roger, you are indeed very strong, but your current strength is not enough to defeat the Demon King Dabura. Roger nodded. Of course he knew this. Dabura's strength was around Super Saiyan 2, and he had not yet mastered Super Saiyan 2. Roger, do you want to come with me to the King of God's realm to train? King of the God's realm. Lord Kaioshin. Jebbet was shocked. East Kaioshin was actually going to take a mortal to the Kaioshin realm to practice. No, Lord Kai, he is just a mortal, how can he go to the Kai realm to practice? After hearing this, East Kai immediately looked at Jebbet and said, Roger is indeed a mortal, but not an ordinary mortal, and this is nothing compared to the safety of the universe. But, there's no but. Roger, are you willing to go to the Kaioshin realm with us to practice? Willing. In that case, why don't you come with us? Roger nodded and said goodbye to the North King and the others. Lord Kai, Babris, and Gurgli, I am leaving now. I will come back to see you if I have time in the future. The 2 pets nodded. After seeing this, Roger immediately walked to the side of the East Kai. Jebbet teleported and brought the 3 to the Kai King realm. It's so big, Roger said as he looked at the endless green grass in front of him. The Kaioshin realm is many times larger than the Earth, and even the land area is larger than the entire Earth. Of course, our Kai King God realm must be bigger than ordinary planets. Jebbet said proudly. After hearing this, Roger said, Oh. Then Roger, you will practice here from today, right? Eastern Kai said to Roger. Roger nodded. In this way, Roger settled down in the Kai King realm. Time flies, and half a year has passed in the blink of an eye. During this half year, Roger has been working hard to practice. In the half year in the Kaishan realm, Roger successfully perfected the god-level teleportation, and also learned from the East Kaishan and others to create objects out of thin air, restore, read minds, etc. Anyway, basically everything that the East Kaishan and others know has been learned by Roger. At this time, Roger was standing on a piece of grass, looking up at the universe. Suddenly, Roger clenched his hands, and an extremely powerful aura emanated from his body, and he quickly rose upwards. Ah! With a huge roar, Roger transformed into a Super Saiyan. After Roger transformed into a Super Saiyan, he did not stop increasing his aura, but continued to increase his aura upwards. The surrounding ground was violently shaken by Roger's aura. Ah! With a huge roar, the ground around Roger collapsed, and many large rocks were half exposed and tilted upwards. At this time, Roger's hair became more upright, and the flaming breath on his body became like a fire breathing, and lightning was swirling around his body when his body emitted energy. This is the Super Saiyan 2. After seeing this, East Kai Kingshan immediately smiled and walked over. Congratulations, Roger, your strength has improved a lot. Roger nodded and changed his body back to normal. Roger, do you want to become a king of the kings? King of the gods? Yes. I think if you become a king of the worlds, you will definitely become a very good king of the worlds. But can I become a Kaioshin? Of course, although most of the Kaioshin come from the core star, it does not mean that humans cannot become Kaioshin. It's just that it takes a little longer for humans to become Kaioshin. How long will it take? Roger asked. This varies from person to person, but it won't take more than 100 years anyway. So, do you want to become a Kaioshin? So what are the benefits of becoming a Kaioshin? Benefits. After hearing this, East Kaioshin thought for a moment and said, if you become the king of the worlds, the entire universe will be under your control, and this king of the worlds will also belong to you in the future. It sounds pretty good. After listening to this, Roger touched his chin with his right hand and said, then I will just be a Kaioshin with reluctance. East Kaioshin twitched his lips after hearing this. Is being a Kaioshin unfair to you? Lord Kaioshin, I haven't been to Earth for a long time. I want to go back to Earth today. Earth? Yeah, because some things need to go back. Okay, but you have to come back as soon as possible. Roger nodded. After saying that, Roger moved instantly and left the Kaioshin realm. Earth, West City, Bulma's house. Tazy was in the backyard of her house, thinking hard about how to write her science fiction adventure novel. A figure suddenly appeared in her backyard. It was Roger. Tazy was so absorbed that she didn't notice Roger's arrival. Sister Tazy, Roger said to Tazy. Tazy heard Roger's voice and immediately looked in the direction of the voice and saw Roger standing not far from her. Roger. Taya stood up from her chair happily and walked to Roger. Roger smiled and nodded. Roger, you are back. Have you seen God? Seen. So what does he look like? Some of them are hard to explain. Let me draw them for you. Okay, I'll get the brush and paint now. After a while, Tazy brought the brush and paint over. Roger quickly drew a picture of the Earth God on the drawing board. Are you a god? Yes, he is a god on Earth. Really, this is a little different from what I imagined. Just then, Bulma, who had just returned from playing outside, saw Roger and immediately ran to him. Sister, Roger. The two nodded. Seeing this, Bulma immediately looked at Roger's painting. Sister, who drew this picture? I didn't draw it, Roger did. Really? After hearing this, Bulma immediately looked at Roger. She had been very talented in technology inventions since she was a child, so she had been praised since she was a child. But Roger was obviously the same age as her, and he knew more about technology than her, and he was also so good at drawing. So this made Bulma a little jealous. Long time no see, Bulma. Roger greeted Bulma with a smile. Humph. Bulma snorted coldly. You didn't even come to see me when you came back. Roger was stunned after hearing this. Was he jealous? I didn't know you were not at home, and I saw your sister here. After hearing this, Bulma immediately looked towards Roger's painting. What is this you drew? This is the god of the earth. God of the earth. Yeah, Roger nodded. It turns out that the gods on Earth are so old and ugly. Bulma, how can you say that? Everyone gets old. After hearing this, Tazy immediately taught Bulma a lesson. Sister, I am just telling the truth. Even so, there are some things that you shouldn't say. I understand, sister. After hearing this, Tazy immediately looked at Roger. Roger, is there only one god on Earth? There's another one, but he's a cat. Cat, a fairy cat who knows martial arts and can speak human language. A talking cat. Bulma was immediately interested in the fairy cat mentioned by Roger. Then Roger, can you draw the fairy cat? Of course you can. Roger said, and immediately started drawing the cat fairy on another drawing board. Before long, the cat fairy was drawn. Okay, this is the cat fairy. Sister, this cat looks pretty cute. Bulma said as she looked at Roger's drawing. Cute. Roger was speechless after hearing this. The cat fairy is hundreds of years old, and you actually described it as cute. That cat immortal, he is hundreds of years old. Several hundreds of years old. Bulma was shocked when he heard this. They are gods, and living for hundreds of years is normal, isn't it? After hearing this, Bulma thought about it and nodded. Can they fly? In mythology, all gods can fly. The earth god can do it, but the cat god can't. Oh, Roger, where have you been for the past 7 months? Tiz asked. I went to practice with the immortals. Is it just cultivation? Yes, Roger said, taking out the 5-star Dragon Ball from his clothes. Roger, what is this? This is called a Dragon Ball. As long as you collect 7 Dragon Balls, you can make any wish come true. Tazy, you mean there are 7 beads? Dragon Ball. After hearing this, Bulma immediately took the 5-star Dragon Ball from Roger and looked at it. Roger, where did you get this Dragon Ball? The gods gave it to me. Is it a god? Yes, the Dragon Balls were created by gods, but they are now scattered across the earth, and you have to find them yourself to collect all 7 Dragon Balls. But the earth is so big, how can we find this bead? We can create a Dragon Ball radar to find Dragon Balls. Dragon Ball radar. Yes, your family is a technology company, so you should have all kinds of materials, right? Yes, there is, but I'm afraid I have to ask my dad to make the Dragon Ball radar. Roger nodded. Humph. Bulma snorted coldly after hearing this. It's just a Dragon Ball radar. Even without asking my dad, I can make it. Real or fake? Of course it's true. How long will that take? 3 days, at most 3 days. Bulma stretched out 3 fingers and said. Sister Tazy, has your father offended Bulma recently? Roger asked Tazy in a low voice. I don't know, but I think not. Oh, in that case, I will give you the Dragon Ball radar. Bulma nodded after hearing this. Then Roger, if I make the Dragon Ball radar, can you take me to find the Dragon Balls? Bulma, you are too young. When you grow up, I will take you to find the Dragon Balls, okay? Roger said to Bulma like an older brother. Aren't you as young as me? And if you collect all the Dragon Balls and make a wish, won't there be no Dragon Balls left? Bulma looked at Roger's little adult look and said with a little displeasure. After hearing this, Roger immediately laughed. Although he is about the same age as Bulma now, the age of his 2 lives combined is older than her sister. Dragon Ball allows you to make a wish once a year. Can you make a wish once a year? After hearing this, the 2 of them looked puzzled. Yes, after making a wish, the Dragon Ball will turn into stone and will not recover until a year later. Bulma, is that so? Roger nodded. By the way, Sister Tazy, you must not write about Dragon Ball in your novel, otherwise it will bring a lot of trouble to the earth. Good. Although she wanted to become a famous writer, she would not put the earth in danger for the sake of fame. Then Roger, we have a deal. When I grow up, you will take me to find the Dragon Balls. Roger nodded. Then I will go and see how to make this Dragon Ball radar. Bulma said, holding the 5-star Dragon Ball and walking towards home. Then Sister Tazy, if there is nothing else, I will leave first. Are you leaving now? Yeah, I'll come over after Bulma makes the Dragon Ball radar in a few days. Okay, but do you really believe that Bulma can make a Dragon Ball radar? I don't know, but I believe Dr. Brief. Roger laughed. I'm leaving. Okay. After saying that, Roger moved instantly and came to the heaven. Roger. The Earth Immortal was surprised to see Roger suddenly appear. Roger nodded. Long time no see, God, Mr. Bobo. Long time no see. After hearing this, the Earth Immortal replied. Roger, why did you come here suddenly? I'm here to fulfill my promise. Fulfill your promise? You mean, yes, I'm here to take you to Namek. Now, Roger nodded. Then Bobo, do you want to go with me? No God, I'd better stay on Earth. All right then. After hearing this, the Earth Immortal immediately looked towards Roger. God, put your hands on my back. Okay. The Earth Immortal followed Roger's instructions and placed his hand on Roger's back. Seeing this, Roger placed his right index finger on his forehead and instantly moved the Earth Immortal to a village on Namek. Namek is located on the 4th planet of the 27th main system of the Vega constellation. The atmospheric composition and surface gravity are about the same as those of the Earth. There are 3 stars around it, the sky is green, and there is no night. There are only 130 days in a year on Namek. The Earth Immortal looked up at the green sky and the white houses in the Namek style around him. Is this Namekshingma? Yes. As soon as the voice fell, a middle-aged Namek appeared. He looked at the Earth Fairy and Roger who were leaning on crutches, and immediately walked over with a curious look on his face. You are, hello, I am the god from Earth, and this Roger next to me is a Saiyan. Saiyans. The middle-aged Namekian's face changed immediately after hearing this. Although Planet Vegeta had been destroyed by Frieza, the reputation of the Saiyans was still very great in the universe. What happened? The Earth Immortal saw this and asked with a puzzled look. Maybe it's because we Saiyans don't have a very good reputation in the universe. Have a bad reputation? Yes, because in the past we Saiyans always invaded other people's planets. Quote. After hearing this, the Earth Immortal was speechless. Saiyans. Saiyans are coming. At this moment, the middle-aged Namekian shouted to all around. As soon as he finished speaking, a large number of Namekians came out of the house and surrounded the two. When the Earth Immortal saw that he was surrounded, cold sweat immediately broke out on his forehead. Roger was not taking him back to his hometown, but clearly trying to harm him. Why is there another Namekian here? Said a slightly fat Namekian. Well, this is all a misunderstanding. Roger just sent me back to Namek to take a look. Misunderstanding. At this moment, a young Namekian flew out from a distance. This person is Naru, who assimilated with Piccolo in the original Dragon Ball. Everybody stop. They are our friends who have come from far away on Earth. Friend. Yes, this is what the Great Elder said. Naru said, looking towards the Earth Immortal. Hello. My name is Nelu, and the Great Elder asked me to invite you to meet him. Good. The Earth Immortal nodded. Then, the two followed Naru to the house of the Great Elder. Although it was 20 years ago, he was still as fat as in the original book. Great Elder, I brought them here. The Great Elder nodded. Great Elder, the Earth Immortal said to the Great Elder. The Great Elder nodded again. Are you Kadaz's daughter? Kadaz. A long time ago, a Namekian fled to Earth because of the sudden climate change on Namek. He was your father, Kadaz. So, my father's name is Kadaz. The Elder said, looking at Roger beside him. Hello, I am the Great Elder of Namek, what should I call you? Roger. Roger nodded. Roger, how do you know the Kadaz kid? After the destruction of Planet Vegeta, I went to Earth, and I met God on Earth. God, he is the God of the Earth. So that's how it is. Then, Kadaz's child, are you going to come back to Namek? The Great Elder asked the Earth Immortal. No, the Earth Immortal shook his head. The reason I came back this time is just to take a look. So that's it. At this moment, Roger suddenly turned to the Elder. Great Elder, can you please show me your Namek history book? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.